Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome back to Lords. We've had a 2-hour delay in the scheduled start of play. We've had an early lunch. It was splendid as usual, but play is now scheduled to start in just a couple of minutes' time, at 1 o'clock local time. New Zealand will be resuming on 36 for 3. Almost said 3 for 36 then. Don't know where that came from, but they need 254. They're a long way away from that target. Another 218 runs will get them through to a famous victory, chasing the highest score in the match. Devon Conway will resume in the company of Rachin Ravindra, with New Zealand having lost night watchman Will O'Rourke in what turned out to be the the final over of the day. Fifth ball of would have been the final over. 3 slips in a gully. It'll be Gus Atkinson bowling the first over of this day 3 from the nursery end, and he's bowling to Rachin Ravindra, who's of course yet to face a ball. He's only going to bowl one ball because he's got to finish the over from yesterday evening. 3 slips in a gully and a short leg. Here's Atkinson, first ball to Rachin Ravindra, first ball of the day, pushes it away defensively up towards mid-on, and it's fielded by Ollie Robinson, and there's no run. Alongside me, Jeremy Coney. Jeremy, I really thought, and I haven't given up this thought, that New Zealand could pull off a famous victory. Going to be difficult now without Kane Williamson.
Yes, they need to have certainly some sort of base, don't they, at one end, I think, when they're thinking about how they can go about this chase. They need, as you say, 218 further runs. I just think if they continue to bat the same way, they're likely to get the same result. They made 113 in the first innings, and I do think they need to change things up and try and put some pressure back on to the bowlers and onto the England side generally. And the way to do that, I think, is one thought is to bat out of their creases a little bit more to everybody except Josh Tongue, who's a wee bit quicker and quite nasty in that sort of sense. So I think that's one thing you could do. The second thing, and that's an individual thing, but I think that you could almost try and...
Ollie Robinson begins the second over, or the first full over of the day, defended by Conway, no run.
And especially to a bowler like Robinson, who is quite metronomic, and very consistent. As long as Smith is back, I think you should try and vary things quite nicely against him. And I think also the other option, if that's not working, I think we need the odd little batting change.
In the order?
And I do. I think that we've got to try and break this field up somehow, and then perhaps pick singles off.
3 slips, leg slip, gully, no short leg this time. This is Robinson in once again. Conway struck on the pad. Ball bounces out on the onside, no run. Emilio Gay has been moved from short leg. He's been quite deep at short leg throughout the course of the 2 innings so far when he's been in that position, but he's now been moved to leg slip. Ollie Robinson having a go from the pavilion end.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I don't know whether there'll be loads of swing. I haven't seen it yet this morning, but we haven't seen many deliveries. There'll be the seam, I think, that's for sure.
Robinson in once again outside the off stump and left alone by Conway.
So I think the closer you can get to the ball, or furthest away you can get from the ball, one or other, to give yourself some time off the shorter ball. The only way you're going to create, because I wouldn't have thought you want to be bowling short on this surface. You want to be consistent and up and bring the stumps into play. Look at all those LBWs, 9. Look at all the bowls, 10, something like that. So it's a good idea. I think the stats are saying bowl at the stumps. That's not a bad idea anyway.
Here's Ollie Robinson in once again. Conway pushes it out towards cover, calls for the single immediately and completes it. Shoaib Bashir running in from mid-off, unable to prevent it. Are you aware that another 3 bowled or LBWs, we're talking about the 2 together,
No,
will
I'm not.
equal
the most
ever?
Mm-hmm.
And if we get another 4, that will be the most in the history of Test cricket. So there was a really fascinating article written by Will Macpherson in the Telegraph overnight.
Tell me about
talking
that.
about the pitch and about the difficulties that the ground staff have. This year alone, this summer alone, they've had requests for 83 days of cricket, and logistically they can't provide more than 62. Here is Ollie Robinson once again. Oh, that one goes fizzing past the outside edge of Rachin Ravindra's bat into the gloves of Jamie Smith. And if they, up until about 20 years ago, they used to dig up one pitch a year and relay it, which then took it out of commission for 3 years until it settled. If they did that now, it would cost the MCC £10 million over the course of 3 years. So each pitch that they dug up, so that's not an option because they can't afford it. Here is Ollie Robinson again, bowls. Ravindra pushes it out towards mid-on. So in an attempt to, that's the end of the over. Good tidy stuff from Ollie Robinson, as you would expect, 37 for 3. In an attempt to spruce up the pitches and put a little bit more life in them, because they've been very low and flat, and they don't make for entertaining cricket. They might make for a longer game, but there's no bounce, no pace, very dull stuff, low scoring rate, not much in it for the bowlers. So they get criticised for that. So they've turned to tennis technology, and they've worked with Wimbledon.
Yep, well, this is the steaming
situation
that you're talking about, underneath some cover.
That's right, and it encourages grass growth, and it gets rid of weeds and funguses and viruses. And here is Gus Atkinson building a full over now, and that one is driven firmly by Conway straight back to the bowler. But it's untested, and evidently it would appear to have invigorated the pitch a little too much. Anyway, the ground staff tried really, really hard. For some reason, I've ended up with a short straw, and I've done lots of pitch reports over the years. I've got to know ground staff, and I have enormous amount of sympathy for them. I mean, nobody sets out to prepare a bad pitch or an unbalanced pitch deliberately. Conway again plays defensively to Atkinson. And at Lord's, there are all sorts of unique difficulties as well. One is the amount of cricket that is played. And any game that is televised, there are only 5 strips that are within the television gantry, so they get used a lot. There's the slope. I'm making lots of excuses for a pitch that's really not good enough.
No, it is substandard. I don't think we can get away from that. I think everybody realises how volatile that it's been.
Atkinson trying to make the most of it. Conway drives firmly up towards mid-off, straight to mid-off. Carl Jameson was very funny. After the first day, he took his 5 on the honours board. What's the secret, he was asked. He said, the secret is the thing we're bowling on.
Yeah, that's right. And he's right, absolutely right. It's just done too much in terms of variability, hasn't it? Wide variety of seam, wide variety of bounce, generally low, down, rather than up. So that's been pretty hard for batsmen, and you've only got to look at the number of runs scored and the way that batsmen have struggled.
There's a shower sweeping across the ground at the moment. Atkinson in, that's left alone by Conway.
So much is so well done around Lord's, isn't it, generally? Places to go to, places to see.
Pretty much everything,
that's right. And yet the most important part is what we're talking about at the moment, in order to see some decent competition between bat and ball. And this hasn't been a decent competition between bat and ball. They're going off, folks. The shower's getting too heavy for the umpires. So the players are sort of semi-jogging away from the field now. The umpires are loping along behind. They've knocked the bails off. And I don't know whether they take the bails with them. I'm not sure. Do the umpires take their own bails around? Those lignite bails. You need those at places like Wellington, those heavy bails. that aren't blown off. So that sound now you can hear probably through our sound mics is the microphone coming. The microphone, the
hover
on
cover.
comes the cover, yeah. So that's a shame. We get about an over and a bit. But yeah, look, the interesting thing too about it for me, I spoke to Rob Lynch last night, and he's the manager from the executive, who is kind of in charge of the pitch. I mean, we know Carl McDermott is the actual head groundsman. He came from down south, didn't he? Came up here, and with the AGS Bowl, well, what it was called, it's something else now, isn't it? I don't know. But so he's the head groundsman, but his boss, in other words, is Rob Lynch in the executive, and he was telling me the long-term plan, and I'm talking about 4 years to 5 years now, is they are going to do what Eden Park have done in Auckland.
Drop-in pitches.
Drop-in pitches, but they're going to be outside on the nursery ground, 3 of them, and so they're going to be built in some kind of, an area that they have got a little thing that will hold it all together, so a frame, and they'll make their pitches out there, and obviously they'll sort of keep nice level with the nursery ground out there, and then they will, when they're ready, they feel they're ready, they'll bring them out, and they'll use a crane or whatever. In New Zealand we use that very large sort of hover tractor, which with the tyres about 2 feet wide, so it doesn't damage the outfield, taking them out there. And they're going to place them in 3 different places. They'll have to take cognizance of the slope.
That's the massive problem. It's
well,
8 foot from grandstand to mound stand.
It depends where you put them, I suppose.
Because, I mean, everywhere else in the world where drop-in pitches are used, and I know you're probably just about to go on and explain this, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, if they have the drop-in pitch here, it will be flat. So you
either build a frame with this one side slightly higher and they'll know exactly where it's going. You could do it that way, or you could alter the base that it rests upon. So, I mean, there are some options, but then they're going to have to use it for a couple of years for county championship games to see how it reacts. Is it better? And once they've convinced themselves that is okay, then they might be able to have that option here at the ground. But in the meantime, they're left with what's there. And I don't think the system is working very well at the moment. And they're certainly not going to do what you suggested, which is try and scrape it away and replace it. They're not going to do that. That's what Rob Lynch was telling me last night. So that's the only story I can tell you about
because
that.
The
cost.
They'll lose too much money. There are 2 costs. There's an outlay and there's a reduction of income. I mean, they're both costs. And I mean, you take one pitch out of commission for 3 years, and it costs the MCC in the region of £10 million. And that's, I mean, the MCC is doing pretty well, but there's the renovation of the Allen stand, and they spend a lot of money. They might generate a lot of money, but it costs a lot to run a place like Lord's. And I mean, the interesting question might be whether you would prefer to have a low, slow, dull pitch with very little bounce, on which batsmen can grind out runs and bat for long periods of time. It's not conducive to stroke play. Would you rather have that, and which games that will, test matches that will more likely to go to a 5th day than not? So that's a commercial success, but not necessarily attractive to watch. Or would you rather the groundsman do what he's done here and try? I mean, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Well, they're trying things. This one hasn't worked. And whether that's because they didn't do it quite properly, or how long they use these things, they will have consulted, obviously, people from Wimbledon to see how it worked and so on. But we've certainly seen the result here, and it's inadequate. Something has to be done. You can't have all the good stuff around, and yet the very most important part of the whole ground, the way that it is at the moment, that can't continue. I'm so pleased I was only here playing test matches twice. I didn't get a pitch like this. We used to have a thing called, the Ridge, which was in 1983, and Willis used to get a couple of wickets as he always bowled from the pavilion end, coming into the Ridge, and certainly he would hit it a couple of times. And if you were unlucky, you'd spoon a catch somewhere as your bat went up flailing towards your face. But generally, the wickets were okay. This is not okay. I don't think you can give the bowlers this much, leeway.
Mark Brown has messaged us asking, so Mark, I hope you figured out that the reason we're talking about the pitch is partly because you said how can they get the pitch so wrong, and I'm trying to explain. I sound like I'm making excuses for the ground staff, and I've already admitted that I do have a great deal of sympathy for them. I mean, it's an organic thing, and like little children and toddlers, they can misbehave sometimes for no apparent reason, and sometimes because they had too much sugar. But they have pitches, as I say, they're organic things, and you can't necessarily control them. You can create the best environment and do what you've done before, but ultimately it's your best guess, and sometimes they don't behave as you think they might.
I have a question for you then in that case. If they were going to use the system they've used here and got this result, why didn't they try it before? Why didn't they try it on a county championship match? They've had several rounds of that, and they will have played a few here. They have a lot of outgrounds, of course, as well. But why wouldn't they have tried that and seen what the results were like there? And then this might have continued with this, but they might have changed a few things.
I obviously don't have an answer.
So that's just preparation, isn't it?
Very obvious question to ask, isn't it? Yeah, very much so. Can I reply to your question with a question of my own? Has it been entertaining?
Oh, it's been compelling viewing. It always is when the bowlers have sway, because I think with batting you want to get as many runs as you can, and so that's taking time. But what the Lords won't like, I don't think, is having a 2.5 day test. They won't like that whole idea about the Lords' legacy of Lords, They won't like that at all. That's not a good look. The umps are coming out sort of pacing things now. It looks as if that shower might have passed by, folks. Some of the covers that they put behind the sort of the main hover cover are being taken away now, so that's a good sign, I hope.
Message from Soupy Ramp, who says, even though the pitch is very substandard, the bowler in me loves seeing the batsman struggle. It's like watching the world's best golfers on a course that has the rough has just grown up so much, and you can set up a course and
divots, lots of divots on the green.
Yeah, I also enjoy watching brilliant golfers struggle. And I love watching bowlers have their day, and I find it more generally entertaining than watching a team grind out 450 from 150 overs at 3 and over.
Well, I think hopefully those days are gone. 500 versus 600. We don't want those games. No, we want them. Hopefully the players, the way the modern player approaches things, it seems to me, is that they are much more aggressive, and there's less of the grinding out that we used to see. I think that those days might be behind us.
I wonder whether, weather maps and radar predictions of showers, they are used actually more than they ever used to be, but I don't think that the meteorological technology is used to its fullest. I mean, you can identify, you can see on a radar very, very localized showers, and it just does seem like it's such a long process, doesn't it, that I mean, you can see that you can see the shower is coming, but cricket tends to wait for it to arrive, and then,
Yeah, it does.
you know. But they could have actually said
5 minutes apparently to restart.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I just wondered what you thought. You know, you can see the shower coming, so you consult the radar and you go, yeah, it is raining, and it is heading towards you, and it'll be there in about between 3 and 4 minutes time. So get the cover on and
well, the umps did that to be fair to them in the first innings, didn't they? They saw it coming in, and they said we're going off now, and sure enough, exactly what you've just described occurred. So. Yeah, off comes the hover cover. Brum brum. And
Harmy said yesterday that a day like this would absolutely suit England, and that I mean that was based on the fact that New Zealand would be seriously inconvenienced. Right, but aren't the bowling side as well? I mean, aren't the bowlers also? Do they have to try and stay loose? I don't know. You know,
bowlers of course get multiple chances, don't they? You know, they might bowl a bad ball and it's cracked away. They come back and once it's back to them, they're away again. Batsmen don't quite. If they make the mistake, they're gone. They've got to restart again. If they're feeling good and confident, and if it's an hour break, then they've got to start again. So I guess that's been the thinking behind saying those things. Players coming back onto the field now, almost being knocked over by the gentleman pulling the rope, the two tractors, mini tractors.
It's funny that
they're going quite fast too.
I
reckon they're breaking the speed. That's Meg Lay at the front one there, going along, going the further distance. So she's going faster.
How do you know her?
She's a New Zealander.
How long has she been here on the ground
staff? A few
staff?
years now. We spoke to her before and a couple of years ago, and she's also had a chance to lead an all-women ground staff in some of the women's tests as well at Edgbaston. I know she did one. So it's great to see. She loves it. She loves it.
How did she start in the business?
I think she was down in Christchurch, a Cantab girl, and she was doing, I think, pea harvests down there. Yeah, that's an interesting job to do as well. So, but she then got the opportunity to come over here, and she wanted to be an outdoor job, and she liked working with soil and so on, and so she applied and got the job. I guess like most other people have to. I don't think she had a huge background behind her, but she certainly had some horticultural and working with soil and so on behind her. I asked her if she actually they'll allow her to do or any other field like Mick Hunt, or whether it was Carl McDermott or not. She said no, not yet. But she's getting a lot more work to do around it and getting closer to it. And she obviously had a crack at that at Edgbaston for the women's test.
Well, good for her. She's off now, though. She's done her job. They've got rid of the surface water on the top of the grass. That's why they drag that rope around, just to make sure that there's no water sitting on top of the grass and it all sinks in. Anyway, we're about to get underway again. 3 slips, gully, cover, mid-off, mid-on, short leg and long leg. As Gus Atkinson runs away from us from the nursery end, bowling to Devon Conway, and he drives, and it's a thick outside edge, squirts away past Jacob Bethel in the gully, and away down towards the unguarded third man boundary. So I tend to, conditions like these, I tend to want to give credit to the batsman there. I mean, he wasn't playing it there, was he? I don't think. But
certainly not.
No.
And he's only got one hand on the bat.
Right. Again.
He's almost making the game a little harder. You're only given 2 hands. You may as well use them both. But that's just pushing way out towards the ball, isn't it? And skewing off the outside middle, if you like. It's lucky you can't control that. That's gone actually along the ground, and you can see Stokes he can't believe that wasn't a catch.
3 slips, same trio as we've had throughout the Test match. Root, Brook, Duckett, Bethel in the gully, and that is the captain, Ben Stokes, at backward point. Atkinson in again. Conway pushes it out wide of mid-off, and Shoaib Bashir tidies up, but they go through for another single. 42 for 3 now, New Zealand. 43 for 3, actually. Target is 254, highest score of the match. And I must say, I mean, if Devon Conway does manage to bat for the majority of the day and lead New Zealand to a famous victory, he probably would have been the lowest pick out of the top 7.
Yeah, he is having his battles at the moment. When the ball is further away from him, that one was pretty close, and he's actually the bat, he's pushing at the ball a great deal in front of the head.
Atkinson in again, and left alone by Ravindra, who's yet to score. He's only faced 4 balls. Left that one alone. 43 for 3. Gus Atkinson has 2 for 16. Picked him up yesterday. Knocked over Tom Latham. 3rd ball of the innings. Caught at second slip by Harry Brook. And night watchman Will O'Rourke knocked over bowled with the 5th ball of the final over yesterday. He looks, Devon Conway, the television commentators are clearly talking about his technique and his struggles, as you just referred to, because we're watching a lot of replays of him at the moment. He's reaching for the ball, he's really stretching for it, and that must be contributing to the fact that he's...
Well, it's harder to control the further... Yes, exactly. And it's the bottom hand that comes off.
3 slips, and I'm going 2 gullies rather than a backward point. The quick single taken by Devon Conway, that's good cricket. Just pushing it out to the square of the 2 gullies. I'm calling Ben Stokes a gully because he's stationary at backward point. Quite deep, but regular 3 slips, a regular gully in Jacob Bethel. And Stokes, I think, there for the flat... Oh, we've got 2 now. We've got a forward cover point. That's Emilio Gay. So, I mean, a cover point, he would normally be a bit deeper than that. So let's call him a square gully, directly in line with the batsman. So we've got a regulation gully, a sort of a fly gully, Ben Stokes, and then a straight gully, and Emilio Gay. Here is Ollie Robinson once again, and it is pushed to that straight gully or forward cover point. Emilio Gay fields 44 for 3. What's going on there then? Why have they got all those gullies?
I would have thought that they are still, but it would be much better, I guess, against Conway rather than Ravindra. Ravindra, he is a nicker, there's no doubt about that. He loves to drive, and if he sees something fairly early on in his innings that he feels he can get to, he'll have a crack at it, and quite often he's just misjudged it slightly early in his innings.
Here's Ollie Robinson again, bowls, and Ravindra steers that one out towards cover point, fielded by Emilio Gay.
I guess that certainly though to Conway, who plays with the one hand, and if you hang it out a little bit wider and he plays with the one hand, then it goes in the air, and then he's really covering his options, isn't he, Stokes, with that gully, a backward gully, and then a sort of a very sort of cover point, but in close, almost catching. So any aerial shot, he's trying to cover that at the moment.
Here's Robinson again outside the off stump and left alone. Do you agree that we tend to judge our own players more harshly than players from other teams? I mean, I think, or we appreciate players in other teams perhaps more than we do in our own team, whichever team that happens to be. My point is that Rachin Ravindra, I think New Zealanders still see him as a slightly unfulfilled talent, and they still associate him with sort of dashing 30s and 40s, and well, actually he's got 500s and averages 49. That's not unfulfilled. That's and he's a great stylist, and outside the off stump, left alone by Ravindra. But I think that maybe expectations were so high when he arrived on the scene that New Zealanders still sort of think, well, he's a bit flashy.
I think he said that himself. He said he goes a little bit hard in the longer format, too early. He's said that, but nevertheless, I think you are right. I think because perhaps you know the players a bit better, you've seen them so many times, you've seen their successes, but you've also seen their failures.
Here is Robinson again outside the off stump. Highest score of 240. Who was that against?
That was against South Africa, I think, wasn't it? It was a South Africa C team.
Oh, that one.
Remember that team at Mount Maunganui? And he got a big total there. So, yeah, I just feel you're probably right. We tend to be harder on our own. And I think that's familiarity, really.
Yeah,
and we'd like to see less.
We have great
of the
expectations.
mistakes. Yeah, and we want them to do well beneath it all.
3 slips gully, and Stokes again in that stationary deep gully position. That's a good delivery, and it beats the outside edge of Conway's bat, and he's just pushing at that little bit tentatively. I mean, I mentioned the fact that Devon Conway, you know, if you'd said, right, which of the top 7 was most likely to play a match-winning innings, I don't mean this to be unkind, but I probably would have picked Conway 7th. And if he does, he's really battling at the moment.
Yeah, this is interesting. Stokes has now made a change. He's moved one of his men, that's himself actually, away from that sort of backward point into a leg gully.
Atkinson in again outside the off stump. Conway leaves alone, and there's no run.
That allows Atkinson to bowl a little straighter perhaps, and not put all your eggs in one basket out in that sort of backward point area. All your catches are there. He's now, instead of having 3 and 1 and then himself, he's now got 2 and 2. 2 slips and 2 gullies for that sliced stroke, which is a little bit wider, and the one-handed shot from Devon Conway.
Here's Atkinson again around the wicket bowls, and Conway leaves alone once more outside the off stump.
Well, that's better, Conway. That's better judgment, isn't it? I mean, they're just a little bit short of a drivable length. Ravindra went down to him and had a wee word, didn't he, a couple of balls ago? And he had a crack at one of those, the first ball, and he's just changed that approach now. He's been moving across his stumps too quite a lot lately to try and get closer to those ones.
Wind has picked up now. It's tugging at Atkinson's flannels, and Andy's shirt actually is billowing as he runs away from us up to the crease now. Bowls and left alone outside the off stump. Just returning briefly with New Zealand 44 for 3 to the subject of the pitches and this process of steaming. That's not a euphemism. It involves steam. But the one thing I was confused about is that in the article it said that temperatures are as high as 200 degrees. Well, is steam hotter than boiling water? Doesn't it boil at 100? I found that interesting. But anyway, yeah, I mean, and you also would have thought instinctively that would kill the grass rather than encourage.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I mean, I would curl up and die.
Conway plays defensively.
It's like having 6 duvets on top of you.
Yeah, it's not going to encourage much growth, is it? But that is the process, and it I'd say removes the weeds and fungus and that kind of thing. But it has certainly livened the pitch up just a little too much. So that process needs to be refined, and as you say, experimented with. But you know, I mean, whoever it was from Wimbledon said, well, it works for us. Give it a go. Here is Atkinson again outside the off stump, once more left alone. 5 out of the 6 balls in that over were not close enough to the batsman to encourage a shot. And yeah, Atkinson was pretty wide with at least 3 of them. Maybe that 2 were on a line of about 6th stump rather than 4th. 16 overs gone. New Zealand 44 for 3. They've managed to survive so far. We had 9 balls before there was a shower that forced the players off the field. Since returning, we've had another 4 overs. We had 11.5 overs by the close of play yesterday. We've now had 16. New Zealand crawling along. And you can't blame them. I mean, you don't. Jeremy has mentioned a number of times that they need to be proactive. They need to be positive. It's going to be very, very hard in these conditions to grind your way to 254. There's just too many wicket-taking balls. Here's Josh Tongue now into the attack outside the off stump, and he too not encouraging a shot from Rachin Ravindra, taken behind by Jamie Smith. But having said that, you know, he also said, like, have a little fiddle with the batting order as well. Something has just fallen off Spider-Cam. I think it may be a rain cover. It's just fallen off onto the outfield, and it's been fielded by the captain Ben Stokes, who noticed it, and he's just grabbed it and run it down to the boundary. So now Spider-Cam is unprotected from the rain. Let's hope we don't have a shower. But having said that, Harmy, you know, have a positive attitude, so play some shots, you know, maybe have a juggle with the batting order, but you can't just walk out there and start playing shots immediately. It just doesn't work that way. Driven down the ground, there's a shot. Rachin Ravindra off the mark with a sumptuous off drive for 4.
Yeah, beautiful shot from Ravindra. First scoring shot of his innings, and you're right. And you talk about, you've been listening sort of last 5-10 minutes to both you and Jeremy talk about those ball with your name on it and all that stuff that comes with a pitch like this. But you've got to have a positive intent, and I think that's what I think New Zealand have had this morning. I think even in leaving the ball, even when you leave the ball, there's a positivity towards your intent and the ability to leave the ball. In the last 3 deliveries, Rachin Ravindra has left the ball with good intent, which got him in a good position to hit that boundary.
Tongue in again, and this time he's forced onto the back foot. But again, intent. He punched that. He's not played a back foot defensive. He's punched it up to mid-off, where Shoaib Bashir does the fielding. 48 for 3.
When you see a batter come, well, especially from experience, you see from a bowling point of view, you run up and the batter's leaving you. You talk about leaving with the intent, and you know what is a batter that's in control of his leave. That's not in my area, but I'm lining up. If that was just an inch or 2 further forward or an inch or 2 further closer, I'd have belted that. And I think leaving with intent is on a surface like this.
Left alone again, as you say, it's positive, isn't it? You know, it's not a sort of, it's get the hands up and into position, cover the stumps. Yeah, you can see when a batsman is in a positive frame of mind.
Well, that exactly, when you leave that, you're describing it perfectly. And at a point where he can make 2 other decisions there, he can drop his bat on it and play a forward defensive. It's a little bit fuller. He can continue with the motion and hit it for extra cover 4.
Tongue again, once more, left alone. It's interesting, you know. I mean, at the moment we've got Atkinson and Tongue, who's just come into the attack, but Robinson before, bowling, hanging it out outside the off stump, hanging just, you know, almost waiting for the batsman to make a mistake. And New Zealand are going, no. And so England are saying, you need to win, you need to score the runs, you need to make the running. We're just going to hang it out there 8 inches outside off stump, wait for you to make a mistake.
Waiting for the mistake, but you're also thinking as a bowler, just get that little bit closer and get some indecision.
Tongue again, once more, outside the off stump, left alone. Oh, that almost hit the helmet. It's squirmed past Jamie Smith through his hands, and it was just about to hit the helmet. Would have been 5 penalty runs. And Joe Root, that was bizarre, isn't it? You could show that on Question of Sport and say, what's happening here? Because he suddenly had dived and scooped it away from the helmet.
He did well to get it away from the helmet. Jamie Smith, Blundell in the first of the earlier innings in this game. He's just ball keeping a little bit low, and it's been keeping low for the batters, but it's also been dipping on the keepers as well. It wasn't all going in cleanly from Blundell. That didn't go in cleanly there for Jamie Smith, but yeah, I like the way New Zealand have gone about their approach. You know, they've been solid in defence. They've left the ball well outside of stump when England have hung it out there, and I think we're in for another rain shower, which are about to go off.
Dear me, it's another one. Well, did it make any sense? Did you hear me talking about using the weather radars and being able to predict on a day like this in particular? I'm talking about very localised showers. And do you think am I overcomplicating? Am I overthinking? I'm just kind of wondering whether it's possible to say there's a shower on its way. It'll be with you because you can see it moving on the radar. You know, on the so there's a shower coming. Get the covers on. It might save 10 minutes.
Yeah, but you also in this country. I mean, some of the weather forecasters couldn't get yesterday's weather right. So some of the weather forecasts, it's so unpredictable, and the wind is so unpredictable as well. The wind's been strong. Whenever the England flag and the St George's flag, New Zealand flag on the opposite side to that, on that great pavilion just above each other's dressing room balconies, there's a flagpole there, and whenever they've gone, you can see them at their, the wind's at its highest and at their strongest. You're expecting the rain to come in, and that's what's just happened. It stopped raining now. It has. I mean, the covers have just gone on, and some of the brollies have come down. It's not raining as much. It's going to be one of them days, them stop-start days, which I do think helps the bowling team, especially if you get a bowler that's in good rhythm who can just keep going and going and going.
But it disrupts the ball. If you have a bowler who's in good rhythm, isn't it disruptive? I mean, what was your experience? I mean, okay, the match situation makes it hard for the batsman, but is it not also quite hard for? I mean, if you're just beginning to get into you're halfway through your third over, and then you've got to go off
but then
cool down.
You end up bowling all day. I once played a game. I think we bowled 50 odd overs. David Boone was captain. I think me and Simon Brown bowled 26 overs each, just for the simple fact that you look at the scorecard and think 2 bowlers get injured. You 2 just bowled. Yeah, and it was literally after.
Every half an hour there was a rain shower.
Every half an hour was a rain shower, and then you just like, right, you 2 carry on, and you start again going well. You get a couple of wickets, bosh, rain comes, you go off, and you think, well, we'll start again, another couple of wickets, bosh, off you go. So, I think if you've got 2 bowlers in good rhythm and good going, it doesn't takes maybe 1-2 balls to get them back feeling good. This is the area we're looking for on this surface. So
are you exaggerating? 26 overs.
Yeah, we did.
I need to go and find this scorecard.
We just kept bowling. We just kept bowling and bowling and bowling, and it was largely down to the fact that it rained every 16 overs.
Just when you were about to.
Just when John Wood, or it might have been John Wood, Melvin Betts, one of them was getting loosened up, ready to come on. You got a rain shower, and you looked as though you're going to take a wicket the over before the rain shower comes. So you 2 are going well. Booney was one of them ones that if you were going well, it didn't matter how many overs you had bowled. If your last over was a good over, you kept going. And the cover's coming off.
Hover cover is coming off. The rain has stopped. There are no other covers on, so I mean, theoretically we could start in like 2 minutes.
We should start straight away. This is where
it's frustrating, isn't it?
Really frustrating.
Like why? Do we have to drag the rope around?
Yeah, why would you have to have an inspection? Why would the umpires have to come out and inspect? The umpires are standing in the doorway. Rod Tucker, fantastic umpire, into his 100th Test match. They shouldn't be. They're walking down the sort of great steps now, and the England captain should be behind them, as to say, right, lads. We don't need to inspect. We've been off 5 minutes. Just get on with the game. Come on, let's get going. Let's not waste any more time.
Yeah, just put the stumps in the ground and put the bails on and get out there. It doesn't look like we are going to have to drag the rope around, which I'm pleased about. What we will need to do, though, is replenish that pile of sawdust at the top of the bowler's run-ups, because the hover cover just demolished it on its way off.
And we can see, I think it's Emilio Gay, I think Josh Tongue, Emilio Gay, and Shoaib Bashir at the bottom of the stairs, and they were the smart ones because they didn't go to the dressing room. They've just stayed down in the bottom of the stairs, so they've not gone up. They just
it's quite a long way up.
It is a long way up. Yeah, it is a long way up, and it's also you fight through to get through people as well. I mean, there are people in your way.
It's a completely bizarre concept. Yeah. And I know that a few international cricketers who experienced it for the first time were quite unnerved.
Yeah.
Like because they're not demure gentlemen who look the other way. I mean, there are a couple who've had a few sherries and who've got a few things to say to you. While you tell a story about that, Melinda Farrell will take over.
I've had one or two of them people having the sherries say some things to me as to say, oh no, they've picked him again. I don't think they knew my name, but they were like, oh no, he was here last year and they weren't very good. So yeah, I mean, you do have to move people out of the way. It is a unique place. You've got to go up, what is it, 1 to about 10 steps into the long room. As a home player, you turn left. You do about 10-15 strides, turn left at the great paintings on the wall, get to the far end of the long room. The long room holds, for a dinner, I think around about 180 to 200 people for a sit-down long room lunch or a long room function. So the oblong room down there, then you go up 2 flights of stairs, and then you go through a side door on the end of the building towards the home dressing room. And thankfully, Melinda Farrell, the home dressing room and 2 players out of the away dressing room are now back on the field. Umpires have got the stumps in the ground, and we're probably about 5 minutes away from a start. How are you, Mel?
Oh, I didn't think I'd ever get on, Harmy. I thought that the weather gods were conspiring against me. I've been so looking forward to this, to coming up and joining you and all the TalkSport team. So I'm pleased I'm on, and I'm pleased the players are on.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think this suits bowlers. I know Manners was saying, if you're in a good rhythm, but it doesn't take you too long to get going again, and then you find that area you've been bowling in a good rhythm. I think from a batting point of view, you go back inside, you have a little bit of a sit down, then you have to come back out, you get the rhythm of batting again. I think the rhythm of batting takes a little bit longer than the rhythm of bowling. And also, if you've got a bowler who's been bowling well, Robinson's gone okay this morning, Tongue probably not as good as he's bowled in the test match, but it doesn't take too long to get going and back up to speed, and all of a sudden you've had a 15-minute break. So if you are into a good spell, maybe he extends it to an extra 2 overs, 3 overs of somebody who's actually got one up on or got a bit of pressure on the opposition batters.
And the important news is that Spider Cam has a new rain cover. They've just put it on. The players are ready to go. Spider Cam's ready to go. New Zealand are 49 for 3. Ravindra will be facing the first ball from Ollie Robinson. He's in around the wicket, and that is just fended very well behind point. I'll just get a couple, and we are underway again on what has been a very stop-start day in a test match that feels like it's being played between 3 teams. You've got New Zealand, you've got England, and you've got the conditions both on the ground and in the air.
I think in the air is winning at this moment in time. On the ground is given as good a punches as it can possibly give, but I think in the air is winning. There's a lot of grey cloud. This is helping the bowlers. It's not easy to bat on this Lord's pitch at this moment.
Ravindra taps his bat and waits again as Robinson is in, and that is whistled past the edge. My goodness, you can hear the intake of breath from the Lord's crowd. They're just waiting for another wicket. That one maybe just straightening a touch.
Yeah, but it's good from Ravindra. What he's doing is he's batting out of his crease. He knows Robinson can't really trouble him with too much from a short ball and pace point of view. So he's batting outside of his crease. He's trying to come into the ball, and he's also with a good intention of trying to leave it. He's batting on off stump. So anything outside his eye line, he's thinking, right, can I leave this? And that one there just kept a little bit low.
Got a leg slip in as the next ball again is through past the batter, Ravindra, and into the hands of Jamie Smith. They've got 2 slips in, and they've got a leg slip in now. So they've also got a gully and a short leg. So plenty of fielders around the bat to just make him think a bit.
Yeah, there's lots of... He's well sorted for company, and I think he's be well sorted for advice as well of what's going on. I always struggle. I think Ollie Pope went through a phase, and there's quite a few of the England players went through a phase of if you're batting on off stump, anything outside there, you should be leaving. Ravindra's not. He's batting on off stump, and he's playing at things.
He gets in behind the next delivery and just plays that back down to Robinson, who fields off his own bowling. It's talking about the overheads. It was very interesting. I went to the press conferences last night, and it was Nathan Smith up from New Zealand, and and Emilio Gay for England, and they both really emphasised how different it was batting and bowling once the clouds were in and then once the sun came out. As Robinson in and bowls, and that's clipped away through mid-wicket by Ravindra. They'll take off for another couple. I think Shortleg thought he was in the game for a moment there.
I think Shortleg got a good piece of it. Emilio Gay's just shaking his right hand. I think it's caught the end of his thumb, Emilio Gay. But yeah, I mean, the surface, from the surface his point of view, it's not been the greatest surface. This great ground has got everything going for it. We know we had last year, the surface wasn't the greatest either last year, but I mean, two teams have got a bat on it, and I think from a visual point of view, Mel, what the players are saying is when it's dark, when the clouds come over, it really does have a huge effect on the sort of visual point of view.
As the next ball's got him straight through Ollie Robinson, and Ravindra's stay is not so long after all. It's a familiar sight here in this test match. The stumps flying, bails everywhere, and Robinson celebrating with his teammates.
Yeah, he deserved that, Ollie Robinson. He's bowled very, very well. He's changed ends. He's gone from the nursery end. He bowled well from the pavilion end, but it didn't suit him that much. And the ball from around the wicket has just gone down the slope. But straight of anything, a bit like the Ben Stokes dismissal. It's just held its line, if anything, but going down the slope onto off stump. And it's the first time we talked about Rachin Ravindra being good intent with his leaving, good intent with his defensive work. I think it's the first time we've seen any indecision, and I think the reason why we've seen the indecision, I think it's kept a bit low. I think we see that again from side on. I think that ball's kept a little bit low, and that's why Rachin Ravindra just checked his movements coming forward, and unfortunately he hasn't been able to get a bat on it, and it's hit off stump. Very good from Ollie Robinson this morning, and I think he's deserved that.
Well, it has been another one as well that we can add to the list of players who have been bowled.
Yeah, we're 2 away from the record, aren't we?
It's incredible stuff. As I was talking about the press conferences last night. 53 for 4 now, by the way, New Zealand, and Daryl Mitchell is a new batter coming out to the middle to join Devon Conway. Nathan Smith spoke about the importance of keeping the stumps in play just because of the types of dismissals, and perhaps they got a bit frustrated at certain points when they allowed a few partnerships for England to grow, was maybe they were searching a little bit for it instead of realising that you just got to keep the stumps in play all the time.
And that's what he did really well. But it's quite bizarre because you normally have one type of bowler who will go through the test match and excel, but in this game you've had all different types. Nathan Smith keeps the stumps in play, all dismissals in play. And first innings, Jamieson 6'7", Robinson 6'5" tall, both over 2 metre release points. They both got fifers, and then you'd say Nathan Smith's the one that caused the most problem yesterday when he does keep the stumps in play from a dismissals point of view.
Well, here is Tongue. First ball, wicked bounce, and it has Conway swaying out of the way. Almost had a bit of a swish at that one. Might have been a bit lucky that he was nowhere near it, but that one absolutely leapt, kangaroo style. Yeah,
that's the difference between facing a Nathan Smith type bowler and a Josh Tongue. That did it. It's just flown off. I mean, if Conway gets anything on that, it's 4 because it's going straight over second slip. But the bounce, the lavish bounce, the bounce compared to that, that ball there and Ollie Robinson's delivery before would probably would have been pitched in 2 similar positions. One's took off, one's kept low.
Tongue is in again, and Conway keeps this down. It goes straight to gully where Jacob Bethel does a bit of cleaning up. No run. 53 for 4 now, with Tongue bowling from the pavilion end. And very little relief. I can't help but feel that New Zealand are on a bit of a hiding to nothing at the moment. Coming in, going off, lights are on, clouds are heavy. And seeing the ball bounce like that, and other times staying a bit low.
Just watching it again, Mel, it's Ravindra. It's kept low. It's gone underneath his bat. gone underneath his bat.
Tongue is in again, and that one spat up. And Conway, did that catch him on the finger? He did well to keep it down. Another one that's spitting off the pitch now.
I mean, we don't want to. Unfortunately, though, you are going to highlight how substandard this pitch is from Test cricket contest between bat and ball. A lot of pitches in England last summer weren't a great contest between bat and ball, heavily weighted towards the bat. I mean, this is far too heavy weighted towards. I mean, not even heavy weighted towards the ball. I mean, your margin for error is so big.
Here's Tongue again, and Conway is just able to defend that out into the offside. No run. Tell you what I hope doesn't happen. I'm sure we've all thought about that Ashes test in Melbourne over the English winter. And the day after that test, which finished inside 2 days, they brought out the curator, Matt Page, to talk to the media. And it was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in cricket. If you were walking past, you'd have thought it was a disgraced politician walking out to face a baying media. And
Yeah,
I thought that was terrible.
We could find a few of them in this country, couldn't we?
Here's Tongue. Next ball defended on to the onside. No run.
I don't think the MCC would do that and I mean, nobody does it like Manners. I think Manners described it beautifully before. He wasn't defending it. He was trying to put some context on what it's like to be a groundsman, groundswoman, groundsperson. You know, now in the modern day.
That's why we just say curator.
Curator,
it's one word,
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
easier.
I nearly got it. Just simply, I think is it Melinda that is the groundswoman here as well. She does a brilliant job. Came up from Bristol, so they don't mean to produce a bad pitch on purpose.
In comes Tongue, and that one's just played down the leg side, and Ben Stokes is there in that leg slip position. Didn't even really see. He did get a big, I wasn't sure if it's thigh pad or bat, but
I think it was a little bit of bat. I think there was a little bit of bat on it, but I think you just to sort of carry on. There is going to be a lot of talk about the pitch, probably a lot of talk about Ollie Robinson, rightly so. I think he's bowled really well in this contest. Emilio Gear's getting a good 50. Whatever happens with the result here, unfortunately the pitch will be the one that we'll talk about the most, which is a real shame because, I mean, this place is getting better and better. Every time I come to Lords, it just gets better and better. The new stand that's going to go up, the Allen stand that's going to go up, the new one that's on the other side of the pavilion, it's been up a few years now, the hum, the buzz around the place. I mean, it's a wonderful old historic ground, and the last thing you want to be talking about, unfortunately, is the surface. And MCG, great ground, Lords, great ground. We're talking about the pitches, that we shouldn't be doing that.
Here's Robinson, the start of another over. That one has just played into the ground behind point by Mitchell. No run. 53 for 4 now in the 20th over. Robinson bowling from the nursery end. And look, yeah, I think you're right, but what this week shows, what that Melbourne test shows, Harmy, is that you can have all the peripherals perfect, but the most important thing when it comes to cricket is still the pitch. It is.
The 22 yards is huge, and what you want is a contest. I've always believed, Mel, in one-day cricket, in white ball cricket, I want to see 6s and 4s. I want to be entertained. So bowlers, you have to suck it up. In red ball cricket, I want a contest between bat and ball.
Robinson over the wicket. Mitchell just plays that one straight back down the pitch. No run.
And in this contest, unfortunately, the heavy outweigh the ball dominant is, I just think it's a tad unfair. I really do. It'll be interesting to see how. I was just about to say, is Jamie Smith going to come up to the stumps here? Because Darryl Mitchell always starts about a foot outside of his crease. He's come out a little bit more and he's walking towards Ollie Robinson. And whether he goes down the aggressive route, we're talking about being aggressive and you're not just standing there for the sake of standing there and getting one with your name on it. Mitchell in the first innings came out and he was tried to be a little bit more aggressive with his body, I think with his body movements and his body language, and now he's been keeper up to the stumps.
In comes Robinson, and there's a shout for LBW again. He angled it in, coming from over the wicket, and Mitchell departs for a duck. The wickets continue to tumble under grey skies at Lords, and New Zealand have lost their fifth, but we do have a player review. So Mitchell reviews, and they're going to have another look at this.
Yeah, initial thought was out. Initial reaction is out. Just seen it again. I think it's jagged back, but I still think with the on-field decision being given, I don't think it's going to be overturned. I think if anything, this could be an umpire's call and another umpire's call going against. It's hitting him out, sort of on the outside of the pad, not on the inside of the pad, on the outside of the pad. No inside edge, outside of the pad. So the ball's pitched in line, it's hit in line, and the ball is umpire's call hitting the stumps. Daryl Mitchell's got to go with Jamie Smith coming up to the stumps, Mel, and that is a massive wicket for England.
Well, it really is. He swished his bat in frustration, Daryl Mitchell, as he looked at that replay and realised that he was gone. He'd already started walking off. I think he knew deep down. But, yeah, Jamie Smith up to the stumps. So he was trapped in his crease, couldn't come out, and enabling Robinson to get the most out of the movement and get him pinned. It's really difficult work. 53 for 5 now. So 2 wickets falling with the score on 53. First Ravindra and now Mitchell. And still for New Zealand, they need 201 for victory. England, they need 5 wickets, and you have to keep playing for a long time today. I think you feel it's only going to go one way.
Yeah, it's only gone one way now. I had a sniff that New Zealand, before a ball was bowling this innings, that they might have had a chance of coming out and putting a good show on to try and get this 250. But Robinson's bowled well. He started the day because Gus Atkinson had deliveries left from last night. 4 balls I think he had last night from the nursery end. Ben Stokes wanted his best 2 bowlers on straight away, and he needed Robinson on from the pavilion end. He had a short spell from the pavilion end, and now he's come and made a difference from the end that he got the wickets in the first innings, which was the nursery end. He's got one to go down the hill from round the wicket to get rid of Ravindra, and one to nip back up the hill now for Daryl Mitchell. Blundell, keeper standing up.
Robinson in and bowls. First ball to Blundell, who just turns it around the corner. And it's fielded by long leg coming in off the boundary. So Blundell is off the mark straight away with a single. And the score is 53 for 5. So a neat 200 now required for victory. But we've seen the ball almost ragging, seaming away. We've seen some spit off the deck from Josh Tongue. I mean,
you described it perfectly when you said ragging. If we had been in a subcontinent with a top-class spin bowler bowling, and it was turning square, it would be just as tough as batting in these conditions here in St John's Wood.
Oh, Conway now on strike as in comes Robinson. It's past the outside edge with Smith still up to the stumps, and there's size and hands on heads all around. It's just fraught.
That's an unbelievable take. That is an unbelievable take from Jamie Smith. That is bounced a little bit and it's nipped back up the hill. It's a fantastic take from the keeper standing up to the stumps.
78 miles per hour that was as well, or 125 kilometres if you're like me and come from a country where we don't understand miles per hour. So it's quick enough, let's put it that way. As Robinson steams in again, a bowls is off the inside edge of the bat and fielded at short leg. And that's the end of another eventful over. Robinson currently figures of 2 for 18. New Zealand 54 for 1. Blundell on 1. Conway on 19. As we give Harmy a little bit of a break and wait for Jeremy Coney to come in. So that last over, wicket and 1 run. It's just been really so tough for this New Zealand side. The sky is still leaden very dark grey at the moment. The floodlights are on. It actually almost looks like it's getting darker at the moment. That feeling that a shower could arrive at any moment. Hopefully it doesn't, because we want to see play continue. I don't think New Zealand would be enjoying batting in this too much. The wind has picked up as well. You can see the trouser legs flapping of the players out in the middle. Their whites gleaming against a very dark green at the moment underneath these dark skies. The flags opposite in the pavilion, stiff in the breeze as well, as we start another over from Josh Tongue in over the wicket. First ball is played late and soft hands from Blundell. Makes its way to, well, a fourth slip. I've got 4 in now, plus a gully. Short leg is still there. As well, Jeremy Coney joins us. This is the first time we've worked together, and look, I have to say, what an absolute pleasure and even an honour this moment
Mel,
is
come on.
for you.
Come on.
It is for you, isn't it, Jeremy?
Here we go.
In comes Tongue, bowls. Oh, and that's down. Has that been put down? Did it carry between third and fourth slip? It's fraught.
Yes, it is certainly fraught. There's no doubt about that. Bit more pace from Tongue, really. He's an awkward customer. He gets beyond the perpendicular, so it's coming at almost about number 11 on the clock, if you like, when he's delivering the ball. It comes, so it's always got that feeling coming back at you as a right-hander, and then he can nip it away. No, it's played well down first, isn't it? Well down into the ground by Blundell.
And waits again as Tongue is in and bowls. He gets on top of his toes and plays down on that. They hair down the track for a quick single. Tongue couldn't get there in time to be a threat. 55 for 5 now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fall of 2 quick wickets, two big wickets too. Ravindra just beaten by movement again, coming back into you. You just feel you've got to play that line of the ball, but then you've opened up your off stump then, and it goes away up the slope or something like that, and that's just another bowled and then another LBW. So they're counting up. I mean, we're keeping the total here, folks, about just how many dismissals.
Tongue around wicket. Oh my goodness, that one has sprayed over the shoulder of Devon Conway.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, that the surface has just beaten the bat so many times. And Mitchell LBW, of course, he likes to walk at the bowler a little bit, particularly someone like Robinson, who hasn't got extreme pace, but he was unable to, of course, with the keeper coming up, Smith, and he just looked awkward. He crossed over himself as well and just locked himself off with the front foot getting too far across.
Conway waits as Tongue is in once more, and this time it's rapid, and whistles past, left alone by Conway.
Slightly better judgment now. Conway is not playing at those deliveries now outside that off stump. That reaching that we saw early on, maybe it's nerves and anxiety, but he has been doing that, and of course it's so far away from him sometimes, and he's getting so far ahead of himself. The bottom hand comes off the bat, and he's playing really cricket one-handed, and you can't control the stroke once it's out that far away from you. That's why it's gone in the air so much.
And 2 slips, a gully, leg slip, short leg, all still in play as Tongue is in, and is just turned by Conway into short leg to finish off the over. And New Zealand, it's all 5s at the moment, because New Zealand are 55 for 5 and England need 5 for victory. New Zealand's target has come down under 200, so they still need 199. That is no mean feat. Conway is on 19 and Blundell is on 2. So the 2 quick wickets of Ravindra and Mitchell both falling when New Zealand was on 53.
Yeah, big damage there. 2 big wickets. Two players that can score heavily. One left hand, one right hand, so it gives you a bit of variety. and one playing off the front foot, particularly Mitchell going at bowlers, especially of a pace like Robinson here.
Smith is up to the stumps again as Robinson starts a new over, and the first ball's just defended up to mid-off, no run.
Yeah, well, that'll keep generally the batsman at home. I think New Zealand have missed a wee trick. I do. I think that we could easily have used players of the ilk of, say, a Phillips or even a Jamieson again to try at least one wicket to have a crack. You need to break this kind of arrangement up and this length up and these bowlers up, because otherwise what we've just seen is going to be witnessed, I think, through the rest of the match. But it's almost too late to do that now with those 2 wickets falling.
Yeah, not a single over of spin being bowled in this test match.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen now, is it?
No. You sort of thought that the weather looks terrific tomorrow, and you think if they can find a way to get through today, things might be a bit different. Robinson is in and bowls, it's defended into the mid-wicket region by Blundell, no run.
See, losing the head again. That's not. Don't take that literally, folks. He's just falling over to the offside, and that makes it so hard sometimes to get. There he is. He's practicing that. You see, in the headers in line now when he's practicing it. He knows, and that makes it so hard sometimes to make contact with the ball.
One of my favourite things is seeing a keeper up to the stumps to seamers. We've got it right now, Lords, as Robinson is in, and that has played out into point by Blundell. It just feels like every ball it's about to happen.
Yeah, it was very clever of Carey to do that in the Ashes, wasn't it? I felt, to Boland, and you know, while Robinson isn't a Boland I think is probably quicker. But they're both very consistent and accurate bowlers, and it means that as a keeper you kind of know where the ball is going to be. And anyway, looks as if we're off again. These little mini sessions are killing New Zealand here. Wicket there, wicket here.
Yes.
Off we go. There's the roar of the hovers.
Yeah, the hover covers.
The horror hovers.
The horror covers. The horror covers are making their way back out to the middle. The players look really reluctant to go off. England just hanging about, maybe feeling that this shower might just pass. It doesn't look particularly heavy. In fact, you can't even really see any brollies coming up, or umbrellas, I should say, as well, for those of you around. Just a few popping up, but there's enough for the umpires to decide to call the players in. So incredibly frustrating period there if you're a New Zealand fan. Those 2 wickets falling of Ravindra and Mitchell, both falling to Ollie Robinson. Ravindra bowled, Mitchell LBW, and it's been tough going. They resumed on 36 for 3, New Zealand, after we basically lost the first session. And so as they head in at 55 for 5, they've lost 2 wickets and added 19 runs in what play we've had today so far.
More of the same, Mel, isn't it, really, right throughout this match. New Zealand seem to have got these conditions which aren't easy, having to have frequent breaks. And your bowlers, of course, get a little spell. They can come back and they're renewed. They've had a little bit of success, and away they go again. You wind them up and say, that end down there. And really, it certainly suits a bowling side, these kinds of arrangements. Unless you are hitting the ball nicely and it's getting wet and it's getting heavy and it starts to swell, the leather starts to swell. And so that's when it gets a wee bit awkward for a bowling side. But New Zealand are hardly hitting the ball at this stage. It's very much a defensive game. And that's why I say I think New Zealand needed to kind of change that a little bit. And, I mean, you can bat out of your crease. I mean, even if the keeper's up, you can bat out of your crease. I don't see any reason why you can't do that. You have to be quite confident about that you'll be able to get back in time. But it's less usual. That's why I feel we should perhaps have tried to break this pattern that we've seen in the game. LBWs, bowled, LBW, LBW, bowling straight. We got to go at them a little bit, I think, and just upset the apple cart a bit and spread the field a bit. And we saw that as only once in the game, and that was when Jamieson, as far as New Zealand is concerned, from Jamieson. And he did break that field up, and Robinson was the man. That meticulous length that he's been bowling, it affected him. He started to bowl a little bit short, and they started to bowl to a leg side field, which this pitch, it's a nonsense to bowl that, really, which is just demanding accuracy and consistency to get that movement and seam, and that we've seen it all game.
We certainly have. They've just brought out some extra covers now to place on the bowlers' run-ups, and there are a lot more umbrellas going up now, and looks like there's going to be a little bit in this one. Might not be a brief shower, let's hope it is, but they're just starting to peg those covers into place now, and it's a matter of just waiting now and hoping. I think New Zealand would be quite happy to stay off for a bit and maybe think, well, if there's any way we can come back tomorrow, knowing that the weather's going to be much better and knowing that conditions do change everything about this match. Certainly that's what both Nathan Smith and Emilio Gay were saying last night. It's like two completely different days, different grounds, different balls, different pitches. It just changes things so very much. You're back with me. I thought you were distracted.
I was just talking. I didn't look. It's the southeast, isn't it? That's where the weather seems to be coming from. Although there's some discussion going on with a number of people, little discussions of hot gossip going on in the box at the moment. Is that the south? Some of you are saying it's west. It's just the 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Anyway, so it's certainly coming from, let's say, our left, and certainly that's the indication above the English dressing room, that flag tugging away at the mast there, and certainly that looks as if it's coming from our left. The other one is certainly above New Zealand one, is also tugging the same way. It's extraordinary how that happens, and also on top of the stand as well, the MCC. All going the same way, Mel. Extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. I want to find out more about the hot gossip. That sounds much more entertaining.
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't that hot at all, really.
Cold gossip.
Not what you're talking about. No, that's right.
Cold gossip. Well, they are also rolling out the heavy covers as well. So that gives you an indication that they're not expecting this to pass so briefly. So we might wrap up our coverage for a little bit, but don't go too far away because we could be back at any time. Just to remind you where we are at the moment, New Zealand 55 for 5, still requiring 199 runs for victory. England only needing 5 more wickets, and they will go one up in the series. Blundell out in the middle on 2, and Coney on 19. We've had 2 wickets fall for 19 runs in the play that we've had so far today. Ravindra bowled Robinson for 8, and Mitchell LBW Robinson for none. They both fell when the score was on 53, and it was another double strike for Robinson, who likes to do things in multiples, it seems. So that is the current state of play. We won't go too far, though. We'll be standing by to come back as soon as we have anything to report and any play comes back into frame. But until then,
well, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the TalkSport Cricket YouTube channel, and a special following on podcast. Myself, John Norman, and Steve Harmison, and delighted to say that in the middle of us is Gareth Copley-Jones, who is a well-known figure within the world of cricket and has been for the last 20 years or so. And he is. Are you the author of this new book, Picture of England, 20 years photographing the England men's cricket team home and away. Are you the author, or is Rory Dollard the author?
No, Rory Dollard's definitely
So
the author.
Rory Dollard is the author. So what? But it's your book. How? We need to find a new title, don't we?
No, they're all my pictures, and the nature of being a picture book is it brings back memories. But I came across the idea, and I wanted the players that I'd worked with to talk about the pictures, talk about their range of emotions when the moments happened. And I approached my good friend Rory Dollard, and he put all that into nice, lovely words.
Well, between you two, you've conjured up and put together something that is just, it's beautiful. And I've just had 25 minutes or so, because I spoke to you in the back of the Lord's box. I said, Gareth, can you come on and we'll talk about the book? And Harmy actually brought the book to the commentary box. We've actually been speaking about it for the first 2 days of this test match, on and off. But I thought, well, I need 20 minutes or so. I need to be able to just go through. And I thought, well, I'll pick out a couple of photos and we'll talk about those photos. And then suddenly I've gone through the whole book. And the first thing that comes to mind is anybody who buys this book will look through this and they'll think to themselves, oh, I didn't know that Gareth took that one. And, oh, I didn't realise that Gareth took that one. There are so many iconic photos in this book throughout that you took. And I suppose that's the photographer's curse, isn't it? I mean, there will be times we'll know the name, but more often than not, we just look at the photo and think, that is an amazing photo, and then we just get on with that life.
Yeah, an amazing photo, and hence why we're talking to Gareth while it's raining, because he's not out there taking pictures right now. I'm sure, I mean, they would say there's a skill, there's an art to be in the right place at the right time, Gareth. But that moment, that special moment that you capture, I mean, what's the training for that, to get to a point where, I mean, it's not a fluke. There's 20 years in that one book with amazing photographs of some, I mean, no, you see a lot of celebration photographs, but action shots. I mean, the action shots of Jimmy Anderson have just shown us there, one of the 10-11 side,
well,
doing the
thing is, there's iconic moments, action moments, there's a use
everywhere.
of light, there's early morning, there's late in the afternoon. It's a bit like, what's your favourite goal? And you think, oh, it's Maradona's. And then you think, oh, no, what about that 40-yarder? Oh, no, what about the overhead volley? I mean, if somebody asks you, how do you take the perfect photo, there's not one answer, is there?
No, the nature of my job, I need to be ahead of the action. So my head is like, I'm sat there at the boundary edge and I look like I've got the best job in the world now, just sitting in a deck chair photographing the cricket. But we're not, as heads are going 100 miles an hour trying to work out what's going to happen next, where we need to be. So I'm all constantly thinking, who's batting, who's bowling, what might happen, if he does this, if he does that. And I need to be in the right position for that moment. So I need to work out if I'm going to be, sat in front of the pavilion for a certain bowler, or do I need to move square for a batsman playing a certain shot? You need to know the whole repertoire of all the batsmen's shots.
Does that come from a cricket background? I mean, I'm thinking you talk about golfers. A lot of caddies in the golfing world are scratch golfers. They're good golfers, handicaps 1, 2 and 3. They know the game, they understand the game. You're saying you need to be one step ahead. Does that come from, do you play cricket? Have you brought up playing cricket and have an idea that such and such looks as though he's in just such a great spell, this might be the moment where he gets the big wicket?
No, I hated cricket as a kid. I didn't like the red ball.
It's hard, isn't it?
Very, very hard. And then they put you in these nets with the nets either side of you and you can't escape it. So, no, it's just from watching a lot of cricket. I got into cricket by accident. My first tour was Pakistan in 2005, just after the Ashes. And they asked me to go with a week's notice, the company I was working for at the time. And I sort of made a deal with him. I said, well, I'll gladly go to Pakistan, but can I go to Australia for 3 months the following year? That's the deal. And it was nothing to do with the cricket. It was just I wanted 3 months in Australia and escape. I did a lot of football back then.
How was how was your first experience of the tour in Pakistan? Because Pakistan at the time, I mean, we were told on the bus. We were told on the bus, if this bus stops, something's wrong, because of the presidential security that was going with it. It was like the minute this bus moves, you will stop either at the hotel or at the ground or at the airport. So that's telling you there the security is ramped up and ridiculous. That was your first tour, wasn't it? What was it like for you getting from, I think, what was it, Multan, what a place Multan was, but Multan to Faisalabad to Lahore.
Oh, it was a complete culture shock. I just remember arriving at 4 a.m. at Islamabad airport and getting told that this is our fixer, and then getting shoved in the back of a minibus, and it was all dusty. It was like an Indiana Jones film. There was like animals getting herded around the car park and the airport. Yeah, a complete culture shock when you've just been used to photographing Blackburn Rovers and things like that before then.
When you look back at the start of your career and you look at these photos that you took in Pakistan 20 years ago, do you look at them and think, oh, if I'd taken that photo today, I would have done this differently, or I would have got... Or do you just look at it and think, nope, that's the photo, and I would have done exactly the same thing with the equipment I had if I was to take that photo and to be in that? Or is there 100 ways to take a photo?
Yeah, constant. Like there'd be countless examples in the book of pictures I'd wish I could revisit and maybe just step a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, or do it slightly different or a different lens. But no, I love the pictures because it's a real history of time, and the Pakistan pictures, touring doesn't look like that no more. It's so different. There's a picture there of Michael Vaughan pushing a sight screen in Bagagina Park. Like, we would never play in Bagagina Park now, a warm-up game.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
Well, we didn't go to Pakistan for 20 years off the bat of that one.
Well, no, the terrorist attack took place 3 years later, didn't it? But so looking through this book, there are countless moments within the book where the action isn't taking place on a cricket pitch. It's off it, and it's between test matches, or at grounds that they wouldn't normally play in. So with the modern tour being as it is, do you find that the potential for these more interesting pictures aren't quite as to hand as they would have been 15, 20 years ago? Or is it actually just the game's moved on and things have changed?
Yeah, the game's moved on, but I think this is it's the pictures that made me fall in love with photographing the game. Is you don't get pictures like that when you photograph football and rugby, and the thing that I love the most about cricket that made me fall in love with it is the distance. So you can be in Bagagina Park and you're photographing the cricket, and like Harmy's on the boundary edge, and you can be finishing his spell and he's stood on the boundary and he'll come and have a chat with you, and you don't get that many other sports, and there's no distance. We all stay in the same hotels, we all go to the same restaurants, so that's what I love about the sport. It's the lack of distance between the people.
I was just about saying the reason why I asked John to leave the picture on that picture there of Jimmy Anderson. You talk about John. You then spoke about like the warm-up games and the non-cricket action shots, which are, I think there's one of me when I'm going to the nets in Adelaide when
there's one of Joe Root as well. He looks so young, sitting on a rock. I think
trouble in time in Brisbane. But the one there of Jimmy. The reason why I bring that up, we used to have when we had Vodafone, you would have somebody there from Vodafone. So the day before the game, or 2 days before the game, there would be an appearance for a player or a couple of players to go to a certain venue or a kiddie school or whatever. That's not there anymore either, really, is it? So you're not getting as much access to a player individually when they're not playing. Where when I certainly played, you used to have to like a Vodafone appearance. There'd be 3 or 4 lads 3 days out before the game where you'd do an appearance where the photographers would be there, the journalists would be there, and that'll be that. They don't do that as much now. So I imagine that makes it the sort of the photograph shot like Stuart Broad in that daft hat look that'd be a little bit harder to get.
No, like people say I've got the best job in the world. The bloke that travelled around the world just putting Vodafone hats on people's heads, he had the best job in the world.
And he did, to be fair.
But no, yeah, we don't have those sort of opportunities. But I've been doing the job 20 odd years now, so I know the lads quite well. And when we're in a part of the world that's quite interesting, so say we're in Delhi and the Taj Mahal's down the road, the lads will want to go and see the Taj Mahal. So you sort of get wind that they're going to get a minibus there or something. You say, can I just jump in? So it's one of the great things about knowing them so well is occasionally we get to go to Ayers Rock and Taj Mahal and see those amazing places.
I suppose from a player's point of view, they'll be happy that you come and capture that shot because...
Well, I was going to ask about the relationship.
Do they ask you for photos for their own collections?
Yeah, they do. Like some players are more needy than others. There's some players like the pictures being taken, and then some players you say, well, here's a picture I took, and they're just not bothered. But I think like the book's full of 20 years, like Harmy's spoken in the book about a picture. There's all these great players that I've worked with, and there's 20-odd players speaking about pictures, and especially the older players and the players that have now retired. They really, really appreciate the book and the pictures because they can look back on those wonderful memories.
Goffey always talks about a photo that he's got in his house, and somebody took it at some point and gave it to him, at some moment in his life, and it's somebody's taken a picture of him at the top of his run up at the Wacker, I think, and he's so close to the boundary's edge, and picks up all of the background and the Wacker being the Wacker, but it's also just a moment in time. And Goffey being Goffey is like, here, look at my run up, But it's up on his wall. Somebody took that photo, and like you, they thought, oh, Goffey would like to see that. And Goffey being Goffey, he did like that, right? Some players would have been like, okay, but he's taken that photo and it's on his wall.
Yeah, well, when we got together with the players speaking about pictures, and Rory that did the words, and we would often go together to speak to the players. And yeah, we would get talking, and he said, well, what picture do you want me to talk about? And it is often the picture on their wall. They say, oh, I've got that picture on my wall. We spoke to Jofra Archer about here at Lords when he was on his knees after they won the Super Over. And he says, that's the picture on my wall. We've got a picture of Jonathan Trott getting run out. And that's the picture on his wall.
But they're the pictures that I looked at and I thought, oh, I don't know, Gareth did that one. The one of Jonathan Trott, 09, I guess.
09, yeah.
Trying to get back. He got back.
Yeah, he did get back.
Did he get back?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
No, he did. He got stumped
for 49.
Yeah. That was it. Was that short leg got stumped, didn't he?
Yeah, that is one of the most. That's probably one of the most iconic photos taken in the last 20
Michael
years.
Clark got out exactly the same way in the second innings. I think Michael Clark hit one to short leg and it came back. Straussy ran somebody out exactly the same way as Trotty got done. That's right.
The funny thing about the Trott picture is the Trott picture is probably the one picture everyone talks to me about, is because it's this great cricket picture, and it's probably one of my favourite and best pictures I've ever taken. And it won a lot of awards at the time. And it won a really big award, and as a result of it, Trotty's wife, Abby, sent us an email. She was working at Warwickshire at the time, said, can we get a picture of this award-winning picture of Trott? And obviously he was out. Like, I'm sure you wouldn't want a picture on your wall of you getting out.
I'm not sure I want too many pictures. There's a picture of me there, a solo net after Brisbane. I didn't need a picture of Brisbane. Do you know what I mean?
I felt for you that day. Oh, that was horrible.
One of the only ones that did.
But yeah, so the Trott picture is really strange though, because when me and Rory got hold of Trott and said, can you talk about this picture? And most of the pictures in the book are people talking about their biggest ever moments. And Trott's isn't. it is a big moment for him, but it's obviously him getting out. It's not him scoring a century like he did in the second innings. And he spent 10 minutes on the phone to Rory trying to convince him to use a different picture. Because that picture there is Trott getting run out by Simon Katic. And he wanted Rory to talk about...
The one where he's got his bat in the air,
no.
Did he not like that one?
No, it was a picture of Simon Katic getting run out by Jonathan Trott at Adelaide.
Adelaide, yes.
Yeah.
There's a similar photo of Ravi as well, isn't there? Similar... Well, you tell me if it's similar or not, but... I can't quite find it. I don't know if he's run out, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic photo.
Yeah, Ravi got run out here. He might have made his ground, but he literally went head first into the stumps, and he's got an eye either side of the middle stump.
Oh, I've got to find it. But yeah, so when you... Yeah, that is quite... I hadn't really thought of that before. I want to talk to you about this wicket, when you were run out, and Trotty's like, well, can't we talk about a photo of me? Scoring that century.
Is that just a players thing? Is that the needy players thing? That when you that's it there. That's the one.
Yeah,
avoids being run out.
Yes. Yeah. No. Good old Ravi got back. Yeah. So yeah. But that's what we're constantly doing. We're constantly moving around the field trying to get that perfect angle. Because if I'd have been a few centimetres to the left or the right, you wouldn't have had the eyes either side. So
I like the ones on the back, mate. The one of Stokes with the flames either side.
I
think
in Headingley.
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, the World Cup.
No, it's in whites, and then the one of Hogarth just sums them up. sitting on top of the elephant. That's just hog
one.
all over.
Which one's the elephant?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, which ones? They're quite intelligent animals, aren't they, elephants? So, yeah, I'll leave that one with you. He's my opening bowling partner.
One of the things about photography, which I suppose, and we talk about it on commentary as well, is, you know, as the shadows lengthen and, you know, all the rest of it. But is there like a witching hour? And also ping pong cricket as well. Has that added an element? Because of course suddenly I know we've had day-night cricket for a long, long time, but is that period where, as a photographer, the artist comes in, you're like, oh, hang on, I know I can get something good here.
Yeah, there's that golden light, you know, when people ask you how to take great pictures, you have to say, well, if you can take pictures first thing in the morning or the last hour at night when the light is really directional, that's when you get that beautiful golden light, like the trot picture and a lot of the other pictures in the book. And you get that with day-night cricket, but then you also have to photograph in the dark. So I'm not a massive fan of day-night cricket.
One of the I've worked in football as well, and I've worked at football tournaments, and it's quite rare to be in a football stadium which really, I don't know, has a point of difference to it or really stands out. I mean, as a Fulham fan, I'd point to Craven Cottage. There's not many football grounds with a cottage in it. But essentially, there's a sameness about football stadiums wherever you are in the world. There are different ones. Seeing Christ the Redeemer through a gap in the roof at the American Art is something special, and the Arches of Wembley, and there's plenty of stadiums with plenty of culture and points of difference. But when it comes to cricket, every cricket ground has something about it, hasn't it? And that must be one of the appeals of being a cricket photographer, that every single game you go to, the ground is going to offer you something very different from the game that's gone before and the game that's coming up.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that made me fall in love with photographing cricket. Yeah, back from Pakistan, where it's a complete culture shock. But like, there's only 8-9 teams that play Test cricket to their high standard, and we get to go to these places, and they're all so uniquely different. So you're either in the West Indies on the beaches, or you're looking at mountains in Dharamshala, or you go to Australia and they're playing these huge mammoth stadiums, and it feels like a massive event. And then we've got these beautiful cricket grounds like Lord's, for instance. So that is the beautiful thing about it, whereas football stadiums, rugby stadiums all tend to look the same.
That's the photograph. And I was looking at before, the one in Dubai. Dubai is, I mean, that is a beautiful photograph. And, show that to the camera, John. I mean, how do you get to a photograph that looks like that? Because obviously you've
just
gone.
to describe it for
you've
the
gone.
listeners,
You've
to
gone
the,
from
to
down
the audio
on the
podcast.
ground. That's taken from up above, isn't it?
Mm.
Is that from up high? Do you then go, the lights are such a certain way that this might look better from up high?
Yeah. So that's in Dubai, in the Dubai big 25-seater stadium, and there was a gap in the roof. And when the sun would go down, it'd go down over the roof, and then it would sneak in through this little gap. And so on the first day, I noticed that there was just a ring of light on the pitch. And I looked at my watch, and it said like 3:30 or whatever time it was. And I thought, well, tomorrow at 3:30, I'm going to be up in the stand for when that little bit of light goes on the pitch. So yeah, 5 minutes to go, I ran up a lot of steps, and got there, and got that picture of Broad, Yunus Khan and the slips all lit, and everybody else is in the shade. But that goes back to what you were saying earlier, John, about do you look back on your pictures and you're happy with them all? Yeah. So the next day, I thought, well, I'll go up and do it again.
3:30.
Yeah, and I got up there, and that light only stayed on the pitch for about 3 or 4 balls, not even a full over. It moves so quickly, the light in that part of the world. I got there and they were on a drinks break.
What about the ones that didn't make the cut then? I mean, that picture of Ravi, where he's got one eye on either side of the stump, makes the cut, right? But there must have been so many photos over the years where just one small little thing has meant that it doesn't. It's not in there. But if not for an elbow in the face, obscuring the vision of something, or I don't know, maybe a couple of frames.
The ball's not in the frame to make the story tell the picture tell the story.
Or are you not a what if kind of person?
I'm not, no. But the book is 320 pages. It's a big coffee table book. But I've been photographing 20 years, and England aren't dull. They're not a dull cricket team. So trying to cram 20 years into 300 pages, 400 pictures in the book. a lot of stuff didn't make it, and I wanted, part of the book is it would be quite easy to do a book on Stokes, Root, Broad, Anderson, Flintoff, and all the real superstars of English cricket, but I wanted to include the guys that might have only played 1 or 2 tests, or just around for a couple of years.
Absolutely. Graham Onions is in there, and again, I mean, Durham have produced quite a few fast bowlers, so with respect to Graham, but it was like, oh yeah, he had an amazing couple of tests against South Africa, didn't he?
But there are people who have had amazing moments. Their test careers might be short. You look at Graham's. Graham won the Ashes, and he was part of 2 partnerships that saved a game.
Yeah.
In a short period of time of about 8 or 9 test matches, he created, I would imagine, for a journalist or a photographer, he created 3 or 4 very, very good news stories, which he was front and centre of. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other players who, when they're looking at the book, going,
Massive moment for English cricket, and I wanted to put those guys in as well as the big test winners.
If you were to pick one region or country, because personally the West Indies comes to mind, the Rec, the old the Oval in Trinidad, 2 really atmospheric grounds. If you could only choose one country or region to photograph cricket for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
England. I've been all around the world, and we do the most amazing touring around the beaches, the mountains, all these places. Australia, the size of it. But cricket in England is amazing. We have packed houses for test matches, one-dayers, and you think about the recent test matches we've had under McCullum and Stokes. We lose a few, we win a few, but blooming hell, it's not dull, is it? It's brilliant for being a photographer. And photographing cricket in England, it's the ultimate, I think.
And I'm sure there's one picture that stands out. Was there one character that you've photographed and thought they are very, very photogenic? And I look at Freddie. Freddie knew where the camera was every single time. Goffey knew where the camera was. Goffey might as well have took a cameraman with him everywhere he went, because he was the most photogenic, human being. And if you asked Darren Goffey was. But was there somebody that was easy to take their photograph?
And which player have you photographed the most?
Well, it's probably James Anderson, isn't it, that's photographed the most. I've been doing it 20 years, and he was 19 of those 20 years. Jimmy's in the book a lot, Joe's in the book a lot, but I would probably say Ben Stokes is that one player, because when he comes on, stuff happens. I was lucky. I was at the rugby stand end when he scored those runs at Headingley. And it was the most amazing, nerve-wracking thing. And we get asked, do you take a picture every ball? And you don't, because I started off using film, so you didn't want to use a lot of film back then. But you did that day. Australia were winning the game with every ball, so you had to photograph every ball. And then he hit the winning runs, and he cheered straight towards me. And it's the closest thing I've seen to Roy of the Rovers. It was, one man single-handedly doing something.
Still the greatest thing I think I've ever seen. Right,
I think so. In that day, I remember that day, there was a lot going on. There was a British motor racing going on. The Wimbledon tennis final went on forever. There was Federer and Djokovic went on forever. There was something else on it, because I remember being in TalkSport at the same time. It was a ridiculous year, that 2019, wasn't it?
Well, with the World Cup as well.
Yeah, the World Cup. People ask which is the best. Which is the best moment you've ever seen? Is it the World Cup or Stokes? Stokes was amazing for that hour, that final hour. But I think the World Cup, because 2015 it was all horrible and it all went wrong, and it was a complete change of mindset. And I made a conscious effort to photograph the one-day team for the next 4 years. Not at the detriment of the Test team, but I just thought I'd photograph the one-day team. One sole aim of winning the World Cup, and they nearly lost the World Cup.
And you in the dressing room afterwards as well?
We got in the dressing room afterwards, because the company I work for, Getty Images, we work for the ICC. So I was straight on the field when we won. I was in the dressing rooms with him afterwards until gone midnight. It was the most amazing combination of 4 years of hard work. So I think that was probably the real highlight, the biggest thing I've ever done.
What do you want to? What's you've taken a photo of England winning a World Cup. You've taken the photo of Stokes crashing the ball through the covers to seal one of the greatest individual performances of all time. What's out there that you want to? The sprinklers there.
I'd love to see a tie. A tied test. I'd love to see a tied test.
Tied
Yeah.
test, yeah. We nearly got
Oh.
one last year here, didn't we?
We nearly got one in Wellington.
Yeah, so I'd love to see that, and I'd love to see Joe eventually get the runs.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
the one, isn't it? That
They're
is
the
the
two.
one.
A tied test and Joe
Joe
going
going
past
past
Sachin
Sachin.
Tendulkar. Photographed by Gareth. That's it. That's the next book. Rory, get writing. Gareth, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for my copy as well.
Yes, available everywhere where you can buy a book. Here it is. It's called Picture of England, 20 years photographing the England men's cricket team home and away. Gareth Copley-Jones. Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Gareth. Unfortunately, though, there is still... well, it's not raining here. The water is being cleaned off the surface of the covers. The floodlights are on and it's gloomy. But it has been dry for a bit, and the fact that the ground staff are out there bothering to try and move the water around suggests that maybe there's a chance of play at some point on day 3 here at Lord's. But for now, we're going to call it, and we'll be back.
Delivery of the morning to Tom Blundell. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening in the world. And glad to say that there's no rain in prospect at Lord's after yesterday's near washout. Just 10.2 overs possible yesterday. Time for New Zealand to lose a couple of wickets, and they've got their work cut out for them now with 199 still required for victory, with just 5 wickets remaining. One of them is the night watchman, of course, so there is still Glenn Mitchell to come in the all-rounders. Glenn Phillips. Here is Ollie Robinson once more, and played defensively again by Tom Blundell, and there's no run. Glenn Phillips and the all-rounders, Nathan Smith and Kyle Jameson, but big ask for them to conjure up another 199 runs between them without significant contributions from the 2 men at the crease at the moment. Wicketkeeper Tom Blundell and opener Devon Conway, who's battled his way through. By the way, keeper Jamie Smith is standing up to Ollie Robinson to try and dissuade Blundell from batting out of his crease. Robinson in again, back and across to a length delivery, plays defensively out on the offside, and there's no run. Good tidy start as always from Ollie Robinson. New Zealand remain 55 for 5. It's not only good morning to you wherever you may be listening around the world, it's a good morning as well to Jeremy Coney.
It's a cold morning. I've just
isn't it?
come from the ground itself, and there's a little breeze coming across Lord's at the moment, and it's quite nippy, I have to tell you. And I notice you've gone and got a jersey as well, haven't you? You passed me with your little t-shirt on, and you've come back with a much warmer looking exterior.
It's quite fresh in the commentary box as well. If it is a problem, I shouldn't say problem, but one of the aspects of the magnificent Lord's Media Centre is that it is climate controlled. And that can make it quite tricky, because you have to have the aircon on, and you can't please everybody. Whatever temperature you set it at, you can't please everyone. I would prefer it to be on the chillier side and to wear a jumper rather than it to be warm. I don't like artificially warmed air. 2 slips, 2 gullies for the left-handed Devon Conway, and a short leg. Cover point mid-off, mid-on, deep backward square. Interestingly, gets pushed away by Conway defensively to cover point, fielded by England captain Ben Stokes. So long leg is very, very square. I'd be inclined to call him more of a deep backward square leg. Can't readily imagine Devon Conway taking on the short ball, but perhaps I'm wrong.
He has been caught there several times. Perhaps more of a full ball that it's more of a pickup shot rather than a horizontal bat shot.
Here is Josh Tongue again, bowls. Conway, though, does pick out that man at deep backward square, but just with a little nudge all the way along the ground. I'm trying to work out why I can't. I mean, I've seen Devon Conway play the hook and the pull shot in limited overs cricket, but I suppose instinctively part of me thinks that a man who's struggling for form probably will put that shot away, but I could be wrong.
He might seize upon it in terms of here are some runs for me.
Yeah, the exact opposite of what I'm imagining.
Yeah, because sometimes if you are out of nick, you know, runs obviously is the ultimate point about going out with your bat, isn't it? And I just feel that New Zealand therefore need to consider some of the important parts about this game and this surface.
Here is Josh Tongue again, bowls, and that one is punched away in the air past Emilio Gay at short leg. He did stick out a hand speculatively. He knew that one of those ones that you're the most surprised person on the ground if you do catch it. It was come straight off the middle of the bat, and they do go through for a couple of runs. 58 for 5. Tom Blundell 4, Devon Conway 20. Full refund yesterday for the crowd that turned up and got less than 15 overs.
And when I walked up to St John's Wood underground station.
Tongue in again, and Blundell struck on the pads. LBW appeal out. Up goes the finger. Had a little think about it, did Rod Tucker, but he's got nothing wrong in this Test match. He's had a perfect outing in his 100th game, and Tom Blundell is thinking about the review, and I'm afraid he's not got the support of Devon Conway, who shakes his head and thinks, mate, I think it might be wasted.
Yeah, very difficult. Someone like Tongue bowling kind of between 86 and 90 perhaps, coming from a slightly different angle at say at 11, the hand of a clock, and it just hasn't bounced. It's always, if it's 11 o'clock, folks, he's leaning away to the offside and angling it back into you. So there's always the feeling he's coming in towards you as a right-hander, and it just hasn't bounced as much as Blundell felt it was going to at that pace and at that length. He was sure that it was going to at least come up to his knees, and I don't think it did. I think it kept a little lower, and it's hit the pads hard. And they're a really good target, and that's now 16 wickets that New Zealand have lost in this test. 13 of those 16 to either LBW or bowled. This says bowlers, bring the stumps into play. That's what it says, loud and clear and underlined. And so any bowler that drags down as a policy, and I've only seen that once, and oddly by Robinson in the game when Jamieson started to hit him. He went short. Now that to me is just not thinking of it. Look, if you want to bowl the odd one short, no problem with that, and keep the batsman back in his crease. But not as a policy, because you're just taking away the main ways of getting them out. Only 3 men out of 16 have been caught by New Zealand, New Zealand batsmen getting out that way.
This has now equalled the all-time record in Test history for the most number of batsmen on both sides who've been bowled or LBW. One more, and it'll be a new record. It's not been easy. That's a statement of the obvious. Gosh, England's second innings total of 226 is beginning to look pretty good. That's down the leg side, and I don't know whether there was a touch on it from Glenn Phillips, but there was a bit of it's leg by, off the thigh pad, off the hip maybe. Jamie Smith got a glove to it, but he just tipped it round the post.
Yeah, the rump, and it's certainly been effective for New Zealand, that one. But it says that if you're only lasting 25 balls each wicket, which is a stat I read from Gary today. It says that, and if you believe in the batters there to score runs, it means that you have to place, you just can't defend. You're not helping your team. You really have to mix defence with some kind of efforts to attack to get those runs.
The short mid-wicket in now for Glenn Phillips. Here is Josh Tongue, bowls, and back and across goes Phillips, tucking it off his hip, off the bat, down towards deep backward square once again, and they're through for another single, and Phillips is off the mark. New Zealand move on to 62 for 6. I mean, you know, Kyle Jameson, I'm not advocating that extreme method of attack.
Nor am I.
But
Selective.
But it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, you know, that with the ball seaming around as much as it is, do you
get close to it to take this, try and take
you bat
the
out of
seam out of it.
bat out of your crease?
That or charge.
Okay, all right.
Or shimmy towards the ball. Harder with tongue because of his pace, as I mentioned. Robinson is the guy you could try it against.
Which is why Jamie Smith is standing up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Then you either decide for yourself, I'll back myself to hit it.
Jamie Smith is standing up. There are two slips, Joe Root and Harry Brook, with Jacob Bethel, sort of a fourth slip really, and Ben Duckett a forward point. Here is Robinson, edged and just falls short of Root at first slip. I think it was an edge off the bat. It went very quickly and just landed on the half volley to Joe Root.
Yep, that was an edge, genuine edge. So it just shows you that you know the ball is going to come along with your number on it at some point. And as I say, that wasn't one to charge because it was shorter. Robinson seems to be bowling just a slightly shorter length with the keeper up.
Here is Robinson once again, and oh, that one is nipped back and it's hit the inside edge and it's disappeared down to fine leg for 4. Inside edge. That was completely inadvertent. Didn't know a great deal about that, Glenn Phillips. It's come back. I mean, I don't know whether Robinson went a bit wider on the crease with this delivery and angled it into the batsman, but it seemed to nip up the hill and onto the inside edge of the right-handed Phillips. Robinson has a wry smile on his face.
Well, look. I mean, this is almost so difficult to bat on this surface. You just can't last. Root's got what, 13,000 runs?
Here is Robinson again, bowls, and Phillips is beaten outside the off stumps. Good take from Jamie Smith. I was looking at the replay. That's gone sideways.
Kane Williamson has 9,500 runs. So between them, 22,500 runs, and they can't get to 10. It gives you a bit of an idea how difficult this surface has been. And this is just, look, it's one of those unusual pitches that bowlers, you know, would love to just bowl on all the time.
Here is Robinson again, and bowled beaten once again outside the off stump is Phillips, nicely taken by Jamie Smith. I'm just sort of accustomed to seeing this sort of lavish movement on the first day and then diminish and wear off and flatten out as the test match progresses, but I don't know whether I'm imagining it. It's certainly the same, even with the old ball. I mean, it's not exactly an old ball. I mean, it's only in its 24th over. But am I imagining it? But there's almost like there's more movement on the fourth morning than there was on the first.
Well, it's been undercover yesterday, hasn't it?
That's true. Here's Robinson again, and back and across goes Phillips and punches it sweetly off the back foot for a rare boundary, running down the hill towards the mound stand. That was very sweetly played. Nicely timed by Glenn Phillips. He's the man. Time's running out. Partners are running out. He's, you know, just let Devon Conway do his thing. He's fighting grimly for survival, and he's 20 not out from 57 balls. I think that's more than anyone else has faced. How many did Emilio Gay face in the first innings? 85. So actually, it's the second most deliveries that anyone has faced in the game. Here is Robinson again. Up to the crease to the right-handed Phillips, leaves one alone, and Jamie Smith takes it. It was a bit of pace on that one from Robinson, but bounce as well, and Jamie Smith does well to parry it upwards and then grab the rebound. New Zealand into the 70s, 71 for 6. They've lost a wicket this morning. Tom Blundell trapped LBW by Josh Tongue for 4 from 12 balls, and the target is still 183 runs away.
77 miles an hour that ball, but definitely I think what we saw in that over, whether he's unhappy still about the keeper standing up, which seemed to be his reaction immediately yesterday when he got the LBW. I mean, he was unhappy with it for one ball because he got an LBW of Mitchell, didn't he, on that delivery. But he seems today to be bowling a slightly shorter length. It's bouncing, certainly he's getting some response, and he's nipping it back up this slope at the moment, so it's not that it's easy, but shorter.
Here is Josh Tongue outside the off stump, back of a length, good pace, left alone.
And then you take the stumps out of play, because he's bouncing over the stumps, isn't he? Look where was it Lewis who took the stumps? You know, took the ball. Smith, beg your pardon, not Lewis. Smith took the ball, and it was well over the bails. And you want to bring those stumps into play.
Glenn Phillips, 9 not out. Devon Conway, 20 from 58 balls, the left-hander. He's on strike now. 2 slips, 2 gullies, and a short leg as Tongue is in. Bowls. Conway on the back foot, forces it away into the squarer of the 2 gullies, Ben Duckett. And there's no run. I've actually seen quite a few very low-scoring, fast-moving Test matches in recent years. Newlands in Cape Town had staged the shortest Test of all time a couple of years ago. It's all done by tea on day 2.
That was the India Test match, was it? Yeah.
Groundsman got sacked straight away. He was only part-time anyway. He's like a freelancer. Driven off a thick outside edge by Conway between second slip and first gully and down to the boundary. And there's a race on. A bit of fun and games between Harry Brook and Ben Duckett, chasing each other. See who can sprint quickest to pick the ball up, just to warm up on this chilly morning.
Yeah, just outside the off stump. But Conway, at the very least, went quite hard at it, so it flew quickly, and he was lucky enough to get it along the ground. But even if it was in the air, it takes some catching. And so again, it's that willingness to go at the ball occasionally. If you think that it's up to you enough that you can play a drive, go hard at it. Still keep your balance, still keep your shoulder towards the ball, and so that you give yourself the best chance.
Here is Josh Tongue again. Edge dropped by Brook at second slip. Well, Conway caught in 2 minds and undone, I think, by the extra pace and bounce of Josh Tongue, because it was a half-hearted shot and he didn't know that he was cutting, or was he then... I mean, it's almost like he steered it. Was he thinking of the uppercut?
No, he wasn't. He was steering it. He was unsure halfway through, wasn't he? So he didn't quite get the pace, but it was fast enough to beat Brook. And that's what I'm talking about. You go hard at the ball if you're going to. Don't steer it. He was looking to half leave that when he was halfway through the shot, wasn't he? Trying to pull the bat away. And it ended up steering it.
He did. I tried to pull the bat out of them. Yeah, he tried to leave it in the end. But
I would encourage him to go harder.
Yeah, commit. Here is Tongue again. Bowls. Conway pushes it defensively up towards mid-off. Shoaib Bashir does the tidying up. So did that... I was watching the drop. I didn't see whether Brook got took a lot of the pace off it. Did it go for 2? Yeah. So it dropped on 24. Devon Conway. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody on the third boundary, so I go for it. If it's short and wide, uppercut's great option.
Yeah, he could ramp that easily. That's coming back into him, his natural angle.
Tongue in again to Conway, and that one bounces quite steeply and is angled in towards the left-hander, and he sways out of the way of it as if that is nipped back. It's looking more like a pitch is looking more like a minefield on the 4th morning than at any other stage.
Well, it looking like that, I think, because it's going up now. Yeah. It's generally down, and certainly the dismissal stayed low, didn't it, and hit Blundell below the knee roll, and so it is. It's just helpful wherever you pitch it, really. But you want to bring the stumps into play. But I think I don't mind, but at least runs are coming, and it was fast enough that it burst through Brook's hands at second slip. He got 2 hands up, reverse cup, but it burst through them.
I must say, I expended a lot of energy and quite a lot of words in defending the ground stuff. And
I don't think you can. I had a look at it this morning, actually. It does look like Jeffrey Boycott's hair. Remember when he had the plugs put in?
here is Ollie Robinson again, driven past mid-off and down to the boundary for 4. That was a proper half volley. Very rare delivery, and Phillips takes advantage.
So if you go out and look at, there are definitely organic mass between each of the bits of grass. They're sort of separate, and it looks really weird if you go out there as a pitch. You see lots of brown, which is the surface where there's no growth at all, and then there's these little bits of grass here and there sticking up. It looks a very strange surface. I reckon that's the steaming that you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, here's Robinson again. Bowls to Phillips, who's forward and defending straight towards cover point, fielded by Ben Duckett. I mean, I just, former England captains Nasser Hussain and Michael Vaughan have used some strong words, unacceptable, and Michael Vaughan said dig it up. It's an absolute cabbage patch, and I veering more towards their point of view now. This is not good for a 4th morning. Goodness me, here's Robinson again, and clipped away off his hips down towards long leg, and they'll go through for a single as Josh Tongue does the tidying up. I know, you're right, it's been undercover for the whole of the 3rd day, or most of the 3rd day, all but 10 overs. And so there's been no sunshine, no warmth, no warming breeze to dry it out. Really is tough.
But a wicket every 4 overs. So that's right throughout the whole match. So you've got to try and score your runs pretty quickly and make very quick decisions. Do I attack this ball?
Robinson into the left-handed Conway, tucks it out towards wide mid-on and takes a single. 82 for 6.
This is where thinking about what you're going to play in your innings before you actually arrive out there is critical, I think, when you get on these surfaces. If it's up to me and the keeper's back, I'm going to do this. If it's short and bounces, I'm going to do this. And you check the field when you get out there, and you play your shots in order to get runs for your team. And you might just upset the bowlers because of that.
It's only been 160 overs, as Scott Taylor reminds me, so that perhaps there hasn't been time for it to flatten out. 2 slips in a gully to the right-handed Phillips, also a short mid-wicket for the little whip shot that he plays so efficiently. Here's Robinson down the leg side, and very nicely taken by Jamie Smith. Flick and a miss from the batsman. You always know when Jarrod Kimber is got the bit between his teeth when he arrives in the commentary box with his laptop. It generally means that he's been researching something, or he's been sent some nugget of information.
There'll be lots of numbers.
Morning,
somewhere
Jarrod.
Morning.
I was just, wondering what I would do with my Monday.
Come on, you're going to tell us between overs. Here is Robinson again, bowls. Phillips drives. There we go. 4 runs. Smashed through point. And I don't think that was a half volley. I think he's driven that. He's made the decision, as Jeremy Coney says, pick a ball, commit to it and hit it. You need runs, and that's 4 very good ones. Phillips moves to 14. New Zealand 87 for 6.
Yep, just a little bit short of a really obvious drivable length of a half volley, but also a little wider, so it was a square drive, a controlled square drive, and he smashed it into the ground just in front of sort of its cover point area and raced away. That's the way. Any ball that you get a bit of width and you can see long enough, get into it.
I had a message just before we get back to Jarrod, Jeremy. Sebastian has messaged us to say, Jeremy, did you ever play on a pitch as tough as this? And if not, or if so, where was it? Where was the hardest pitch you played?
Yeah, Upper Hutt in New Zealand, which is north of Wellington. Shocker. I got 6 wickets. Now that says a lot. And
That says a huge amount.
Yeah. And So yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great, but fun to bowl on.
Josh Tongue from the pavilion end bowls to Conway, and he's doing the wise thing here, dropping it out in the onside, wide of mid-on, taking a single. Conway, that's good stuff. He can't get out the non-strikers then, so he's just taking a single wherever he can.
Did you in fact take 6 for 17?
Yeah, I gave away a few runs there, didn't I?
6 for 17. So 111 wickets in his career, and 1 5-wicket haul, and it was a 6 for 17 in Upper Hutt, Lower Hutt, one of the huts. Jabba.
Who was it against? Who was it for?
CD, I think, wasn't it? Playing Central Districts?
I just brought up his overall figures, so I haven't got in. Good economy right
Central
there.
Districts.
Here is Josh Tongue bowling at a good pace, and it's gone between bat and pad. It's it's nipped down the hill, and Phillips just has no idea. He's got no idea about that, and he's just looking around in bewilderment.
Well, that's stayed down, hasn't it? That squatted that delivery there. It hasn't bounced at all. Phillips is laughing, and so he should.
What else can you do?
Well, no, exactly. There's too much, unfortunately, too much luck in batting. It's gone underneath his bat. And don't forget the speed that this guy's bowling. You can't play on these pitches. At Lords, you can't play on these pitches if they're like this.
Here is Tongue once again bowls, and Phillips defends straight back to the bowler. And when I just wanted to say, for the benefit of our viewers as well as listeners who can't see, you can't see the players, can't see the action. That wasn't an exaggeration. When Jeremy Coney said that Glenn Phillips was laughing, it was laughter. I mean, belly laughter. It wasn't a smile or a sort of grimace of humour. It was a laugh. Here is Tongue once again, and bowls to Phillips, who pushes that one up towards mid-off. It's gone straight to Ollie Robinson, and there's no run.
It's tricky though, isn't it, Manners? Because this is a test match, and you prepare to play how you've always prepared for test matches, and then you suddenly find that what's in front of you is entirely different landscape than you actually thought might occur, which is most of the history of your test play. And so you've come with a certain game, and suddenly you've got to change wildly to another extreme in order to get runs.
Tongue in again, bowls, and on the back foot, forced away. That's a good shot. That's running up the hill, and it might bring 4 more to Phillips. Oh, that's a very, very good diving stop from Ben Stokes. I thought the ball was going to beat him, but Stokes has dived at the last minute and scooped it back to Ben Duckett, who chased him back towards the boundary. That's a really, really good chase from the England captain. He saved 1.
I agree. That's just 2. That's only a brace.
Saved 2.
And so you would have thought 3, even though the dive was in there, and it was certain clearly he got there and was able to flick back. Actually 2, he was an accompaniment of 2, so there was a trio chasing that.
Steve Harmison is watching that and grimacing. Here is Tongue again, and it's defended by Phillips up towards mid-off. Did you see Harmy's face was creased in bewildered anxiety and going like, Ben, what are you doing? Diving like that, why? Why do that? I mean, he's just had so many injuries, and he's putting his body on the line to save a couple of runs with New Zealand at 90 for 6. But that's the way Ben Stokes has always played the game. Yes, Jarrod?
In this test match so far, Manners, England have bowled 69 deliveries on a good length aimed at the stumps. Of those 69 deliveries, 14 have been dismissals. But this is what gets fascinating. New Zealand have delivered 58 deliveries on the exact same line of length. And they've only got 7 dismissals. So it's a similar amount of deliveries. And the big difference here is when you bowl on the stumps you bowl this ball to the England batters, they've been scoring.
Here's Robinson again to Conway, beaten outside the off stump, taken by Jamie Smith standing up. I must say the marginal LBWs, I think, have gone England's way.
Yep, I don't know if that fully accounts for that, but yeah. But England is scoring a run every 2 balls on that very difficult delivery. New Zealand has a strike rate of 27 on those deliveries. So they are not putting any pressure back on England. They're not rotating the strike. So England's at its absolute best as a cricket team when they can. Do you both know what spamming is in a computer game context? I know that Jeremy's learning a lot about computer games from my children. He was being taught about Zelda last night.
I'm so tired of being a student.
Robinson and Conway inside half of the bat, single behind square on the leg side.
Going back to varsity, it's like, I'm just going to get some sleep.
So
in comes another one.
So spamming is basically when you work out one move in a computer game and you just do it really quickly and faster than anyone else can do it over and over again. And England is the best cricket team at doing that. Once they work out something about a pitch or conditions or a game, they then just keep doing that same thing over and over again, like their test match we had here where they bowled all the bounces, right? They worked out very early on that you just needed to keep the stumps in play and bowl at the stumps over and over again. They did that in a way that New Zealand hadn't worked out. So, I mean, we're talking about the number of deliveries, but remember, they've bowled a lot more deliveries in this game, New Zealand, than England has.
True. Robinson in again to the right-handed Phillips, pushes it straight up towards mid-off and no run.
And not only did they work out that that was the delivery they should be bowling, they then obviously had conversations with as a batting team and went, okay, so what do we do to try and make sure that we can get off strike so they can't just keep bowling the same delivery to us? And so that little battle, which is a massive one, which has really changed this game.
Jeremy said very early on that the New Zealand batsmen, he said they're not scoring. They're not, and it's an obvious statement of the obvious, but they were defending and not rotating the strike. That's Phillips driving this one up to Stokes at mid-off, picks up, shies at the stumps, and doesn't hit them, but they scurry through for a single. Yeah, I mean, you've got to find a way to score. There's just no point. Sometimes there is a point, and there is a benefit of spending a lengthy period of time in which you're scoreless because you're either deteriorating the ball or there is a point and a purpose, but you're going nowhere other than back to the pavilion if you're just defending here.
Yeah, and it's not that England have been risky. To be fair, I want to say that I think they've played it very smart. They've just, I think with Duckett, when the ball was in that zone.
Robinson around the wicket to Conway. Clips it up straight to mid-on, no run.
He was just good enough to find the singles to mid-wicket and square leg, get himself off strike. And it meant that New Zealand thought, oh, maybe that's not the right delivery. Whereas actually, what they should have done is bowled that even more and just said, if he's taking a chance here, he's eventually going to miss some of these because everyone else in this game has.
Do you know what? The conclusion to be drawn from your analysis is that people who say the pitch has made the game a lottery are fundamentally 100% wrong.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it's made it a lottery if one person knew how to game the lottery.
Well, that's left alone to second slip by Devon Conway. He's tried to leave it alone. He hasn't taken the bat out of the way in time, and it's deflected along the ground to second slip. But so fundamentally, England have identified the quirks and peculiarities of the pitch and have come up with a game plan. They have outplayed New Zealand in extreme conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that they do very well, England. Once they work out that method, they're very disciplined with it. I think the thing that we would argue as analysts and former players is that at times they're not very good at understanding when they are ahead and when and everything else. But once they find a method on a pitch, they will keep going to it over and over again. Whereas New Zealand are are more of a traditional type of cricket team where they're like, oh no, we're going to we've got a plan to Emilio Gay. We're going to nick him off. They did, but he made 50 on the way there. Whereas actually, even though he might be set up to hit the ball on the stumps better, if they just kept bowling that ball, they would have got him bowled or LBW much sooner.
Josh Tongue continues a very, very impressive spell, but not this first delivery. It's clipped away from leg stump out towards deep backward square, and it's an easy single. Phillips moves on to 21 from 20 balls. Devon Conway 29. Good morning, Steve Harmison.
Good morning, Manners. Morning, Jarrod.
Did you play in the test match where you guys had the you had to change venues at the last minute, and there was a pitch that had a big line in the middle of it?
No, that was in
the West Indies.
The West Indies. Antigua got abandoned.
Yeah.
After eight overs, which I wasn't playing in because we didn't think the ball was going to bounce above shin high. And then we had to move to the old rec ground, which was a football field at the time, and that one had a halfway line across the middle of the pitch, which ended up getting rolled and rolled and rolled until it was flat.
Tongue in again, bowls. Conway drives down the ground, lovely shot. Gosh, he's hung in there, Conway. He's shown some real grit. And he doesn't look like a man in form. He looks like a man out of form, but gosh, he's hung in and hung around. And yes, he's had some luck, and he's been dropped this morning by Harry Brook at second slip. But in between times, when he's got a scoring opportunity, he has played some of... he's playing himself back into form in the most extreme and difficult circumstances you can imagine.
A plan. He has a plan. His plan is to try and rotate the strike as much as possible. And when it's like he's talking about Ben Ducky before, when it's in his scoring area, he's made sure that he's committed to playing the shot that he's trying to execute. I think goes a long way on what this surface is. The positivity that players have shown on this surface is actually what being rewarded.
Tongue in again, bowls to Phillips outside the off stump, and it's left alone. Phillips is 22 from as many balls. Devon Conway is 32 from 70.
The reason I brought up that pitch is because I think if a modern England team played on it, I remember Freddie and one of the West Indian players kept aiming at the ridge in the middle. I think if you played that game now, because of the analysis and the video and everything else, both teams would just aim at the ridge over and over again. And I think this is the kind of that's the kind of thing a modern England team would do. We've seen it with cracks. We've seen it with a few other things where they're just like, okay, this is our advantage. We'll go from that. Sometimes on those wickets, you end up doing the wrong thing, right? You see this in T20 cricket with a short boundary in the wind.
Tongue in again. Phillips beaten by one that scuttles. Oh dear, that's just, it's gone under the bat again. It's just missed the off stump. But now this is uneven bounces. There's nothing you can do. I mean, we've seen a couple that have really taken off.
Yeah,
that bounced steeply, and now that one's shot along the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke about how that this is substandard. I mean, if we were in the subcontinent and it was turning square, we'd be in uproar about it's too much lavish turn and players can't play. Let's call it for what it is. It's not good enough, and I don't even think the MCC are going to try and defend this surface. It hasn't been good enough. It's nowhere near good enough for Test match cricket. And as we've seen there, we've seen one or two bounce, which isn't great, but the one that keeps low, I mean, the batter's got no chance.
Here's Tongue again. Bowls, and Phillips is beaten completely. I think it's nipped back down the hill, hit him on the pad, but it was probably too high. The big question is whether the MCC are going to have to give everyone their money back. We had 21 and a half overs. We had 21 and a half overs in the first in this final innings.
They're reviewing this.
They have reviewed it. Yeah, they have.
And they were two huge sounds. Obviously, they're assuming one came before the other. It sounded bat pad rather than pad bat to me.
I thought it was
too high.
I thought it sounded the pad first, but I thought he was a long way down, and it's hit him. I know Glenn Phillips is not that tall. It hit him above the knee roll. Oh, it's not even close. It's going miles down.
Yeah. There was two noises, but I don't even know what the second noise was.
I don't even think the bat's got anywhere near it.
Yeah, he's miles from the bat.
It's hit his pad on his leg. It's hit the back of it's hit the flap of the pad, then onto his inside.
Again, I mean, it seemed sideways.
He's missed that by a set of stumps. And he's playing well, to be fair, Glenn Phillips. Glenn Phillips is actually one of the only ones that's timed it quite well. It's not out, it's pitched in line, it's hit impacts in line, but it's going down and missing. But, you know, Glenn Phillips is actually playing not badly here. He's got a plan. He's trying to keep his legs out of the way and trying to access the ball. He's trying to hit the ball. He's missed that by a set of stumps.
I think that seemed 1.5 degrees. That's
it's gone sideways.
That's an Ashwin off spinner.
If a spinner had turned that in India, or we'd be in Bangladesh, Pakistan, or wherever, we would be in uproar about the amount of lavish turn. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't be playing on the surfaces like this. This is not good for Test cricket. So, yeah, when people from that part of the world are having a go about the lavish movement, I get their point now.
Here is Tongue again, bowls to Phillips, who defends, pushes it to one of two short mid-ons. The point that I was going to make before Melinda Farrell comes in to take over from me is that you look around at the crowd, and it's got to be 25,000 people, maybe 20,000, and they'd all get their money back if New Zealand were bowled out and lost the Test match inside 10 overs. The MCC need another 2.5 overs.
Yeah.
in order to keep their money.
I think they'll be okay. I think we'll get 2.5 overs. Although wickets fall pretty quickly here, don't they?
They do, yeah, and I think...
You've got no Will O'Rourke to block it out either.
No, he's not coming in. But I think we talked about the analytical stuff, Jarrod, about lengths and lines and what's and wherefores and players and misses and stuff like that. I think the simple fact is New Zealand have lost this game because they're largely down to the fact that they dropped 2 catches. One, Harry Brook on 9, he got 50. And then they didn't drop immediately, okay, but they didn't go for it when it went between first and second slip. England have took their chances. England haven't dropped anything. England have been. This is the good thing about this England side. First Test match, when we talk about underprepared or whether they're prepared or whatever, they've took all their catches. Their bowlers have put the ball in the right area. They've asked questions on a surface which has been favourable towards them. New Zealand have done all that as well, exactly the same, but unfortunately for New Zealand, they've dropped 2 catches which have cost them about 50 or 60, 70 runs. And that's it for me, Mel.
Morning, gents. Ben Stokes is in around the wicket. First ball's just fended into the covers by Conway. No run. Yes, good morning. Do you know, I was just listening to you talking about pitches, and often when people complain about the pitches, the interesting thing about this to me is that so often pitches are criticised because people feel that the home side has had them made to suit their own strengths. We see that a lot. With this, I don't know which team on earth this would actually really suit.
I wouldn't want to face Bumrah on it.
No, I'm pleased Jofra's not playing.
Exactly. Here is Stokes again. Bowls. It's whipped away. Just manages to get past the leg slip. And I'll come through for a single.
I mean, if you go through bowlers in history, I think Dale Steyn and Malcolm Marshall would be tricky on this surface as well. McGrath?
The skiddier bowlers have been dangerous, as in from a wicket-taking point of view, i.e. the Nathan Smiths, the ones that have kept the stumps in play. Josh Tongue, Kyle Jamieson, Will O'Rourke have been a little bit more dangerous from a body point of view, that you're going to get hit, because it's all right if the odd one keeps low. The minute one goes up, then that is a whole different ball game for a scrambled brain for a batter.
Glenn Phillips now on strike as Stokes switches to over the wicket, and it's just played up towards mid-on. No run. Yeah, so well, imagine Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins might be a bit of a handful on this as well. It's been really difficult.
Michael Neser might be the trickiest one of them, to be honest. I'm not sure I want to face Boland either. He's keeping the stumps in play a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bothered about anybody hitting me stumps on this as a world-class number 11.
You prefer not to face Joel Garner, though.
I wouldn't fancy somebody that was potentially going to bowl a length ball that was going to go over my head.
2 slips and a gully in. As in comes Stokes. It's defended with a very straight bat. And just stopped in at the short, very straight mid-wicket. They've been playing around with, they've had, at various times, they've had 2 slips, 2 gullies, they've had leg slips, they've had 2 gullies, they've had backward point. They've mixed it up a lot with their fielding positions.
They have, but they've had good fields because they're bowling straight at the stumps, and the mid-on and mid-off are straighter, so they're not getting beat on the inside. Mid-wicket straighter. Basically saying to Glenn Phillips, we're happy you're playing square of the wicket. If you want to try and play across the line on this surface, we'll give you that.
Phillips waits as Stokes bowls, and that's turned into the leg side. Beats the fielder at mid-wicket, and that is 4 runs. A nice positive stroke there from Phillips. Comfortable in playing across the line. That's another boundary. So this partnership is building, and it's brought up the 100 for New Zealand. So that in itself seems like quite a significant milestone as they reach 101 for 6.
Yeah, and I think you see the difference between Phillips and the other New Zealand batters. I don't think most of them are hitting that for 4, right? I think a lot of them are defending that, and he's like, no, it's leg stump. I'm going to play this, this shot, and just that a little bit of pressure to be able to put back on. He's looked a completely different kind of player than the other New Zealanders in this game.
On 26 now as Stokes bowls, and that time he just seemed a little bit more hurried in playing the shot. Rolls down to the onside of the pitch, and that will be the end of the over. New Zealand 101 for 6 with Phillips on 26 and Conway on 33, and the pair of them have scrapped, particularly Conway. It's been a very scrappy, dogged kind of innings from him, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's batted well. Somebody his looks out of sorts, and some of the shots he's played, he's been not fortunate. I think he's earned his luck because of the way he's fought and battled it out. But he's getting the ball to go airily towards gully. But I think he's had a game plan, which is to try and rotate strike as much as he can, with Glenn Phillips playing a more side-on game from a batting point of view. And I think that's where he's got his legs out of the way, he's got his pads out of the way. I think he's more or less saying, if I get bowled from one that goes along the deck. But I want to be in a position to access the ball from a side-on position, because that's how I'm going to try and score and put pressure back on the bowlers. But all of Conway's trying to do is just try to get off strike as much as he can.
Atkinson from the members' end in bowling, and that's driven, just punched really quite straight. And there's a chase on as it rolls up towards the members' stand. They're going to come back for a third. Really good running. Very sharp in the end. The throw is quite wayward as well. So a few more to the total, and that target now coming down to, double check, is it 150?
Yeah, 150 to win now, isn't it?
Wow. Started off the day needing 199, so that's chipped away. And I did wonder if at some point we might be looking at today with sunny skies, because the forecast really wasn't so bad. It's still, there's a lot of grey around, but it's very high cloud. If it might be one of those days where it became much more difficult to find the wickets. And be interesting.
But from England's point of view, there's no reason to panic. I think there's enough going on that even if there's a big partnership, you can still go bang bang and knock the rest of the tail over.
Phillips crouches as in comes Atkinson, and my goodness, that has spat off the deck. We've seen a few do that. Tongue got it doing that yesterday, and now Atkinson has that one jumping. And Phillips just reared up out of the way.
Yeah, that's why you don't need to worry about the clouds here. I mean, it just doesn't matter anymore. This pitch is ridiculous. Did well, Phillips, there to somehow punch it down, but almost lost a finger. That is not a ball that should be hitting any player in the gloves, and it's almost unplayable.
Yeah, it's embarrassing now. It's starting to get embarrassing now. I know Glenn Phillips is vertically challenged, but I tell you what, I mean that would have hit a lot of batters, and that hurt.
Atkinson bowls and Phillips lets this one go past. And look, it really does show this week. It's been impossible not to talk about the pitch. And you look at 150th anniversary test, all the beautiful renovations, the stands, the wonderful food. There's so much.
150th anniversary, and it's a pitch that could have been rolled out 150 years ago, Mel.
Well, that's exactly right. And
a homage to the old days when we didn't have good cricket wickets.
Uncovered pitches.
Yeah, not even uncovered, but before they had liquidized manure.
Short straight mid-on in place as in comes Atkinson, and it's a play, an attempted drive by Phillips. Ball goes past the outside edge. I understand the point that various people are making about, look, just dig it up. The problem is this has been allowed to get to this point for far too long, and it's not a simple matter to dig it up. It's a process that takes years to bed in new pitches.
It's easy saying dig it up, but Lord's still has to go on. Cricket still has to go on. There's games here, nearly every week. You still have to have a surface. You can't have a hole in the middle of your cricket pitch.
Atkinson over the wicket, and it's just turned into the leg side by Phillips. Doesn't go very far.
The only thing I would say is I think you're both right in what you've said there. There is an argument, though, and I think we're at that point now where if you can't dig up the whole square, you have to dig up 2 or 3 pitches in the middle and bring in something else. And that's I believe that's what they're looking at doing.
Yeah, but the hard part about that is, like, next year you've got an Ashes, you've got a World Test Championship, you'll have one-day internationals, which Lords need, MCC need to from a financial point of view. You've only got 5 pitches that you can play on from TV point of view.
Atkinson in, bowls to Phillips, who he almost chops that onto his stumps. And at the last second, he drops his bat down and just pushes the ball away. It is fraught stuff out there at the moment. As Atkinson finishes his over, 3 runs coming from it, still 150 required to win for New Zealand. They are 104 for 6 with Phillips on 26 and Conway on 36. Well, the thing is they have, Lords, there has been the talk about using Wormsley as a second ground to try and relieve some of the pressure for some other matches that are played on here. But that's a small part, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got games that, the reason why they're at Lords is the prestige of playing at Lords. So these games whoever's having these games won't want to go to Wormsley when you're missing out on all this. So it's a fine balance.
Stokes starts another over, bowling to Conway, who is well outside of his crease, pushing forward with his hands. It rolls up towards mid-on, no run.
So I don't think there's an easy solution. And it's easy it's easy just having a go at the surface. But I think it has been coming. I don't think last year's pitch was a great pitch in times gone by, but I'm always loath to have a go at something without having a solution or having a theory on what you can do next.
Stokes bowls and it's defended stoutly by Conway.
I don't think the MCC I don't think MCC can afford, especially not next year, because it's impossible to Ashes. But they can't afford to have a year without international cricket and basically say, we'll take the TV pitches up, we'll try and relay them, and we'll be back in 18 months' time, 2 years' time. Unfortunately, I don't even think that would be a solution that's passable from an MCC financial point of view.
Stokes bowls. That's a full ball and it's just dug out by Conway, ends up rolling out towards the gully fielders. No matter what it is, I guess the point is it is not a simple matter. It's something that requires a plan or a huge amount of planning and a process that's going to have to last a long time, a long-term solution to what's happened and probably some short-term pain in there.
The short-term pain could be, do you go a year without international cricket here? But obviously it can't be next year.
In comes Stokes, the sun is shining, another full ball, and well, Conway's played that so far outside his body, he's almost done a little 2-step down and a 2-step back, and looked a little bit like a square dance, but in the end it's just rolled back towards Ben Stokes.
Yeah, it's good from Conway. He's got a plan on how he's playing this. I think he's more or less saying, I'm going to try and cover the stumps. Glenn Phillips has gone the other way. He's gone side on. He's trying to access the ball and basically say, I'm going to use my bat. I'm going to try and hit the ball. If one keeps low into stumps, well, so be it. Where Conway is the other, he's going to cover his stumps. And if I nick off playing out in front of myself, so be it.
Stokes is angling in. It's another full ball. Veriplica, he's found that spot full of a length, and it's just defended once more by Conway. You're right, he's got his plan, and we've just almost seen 3 identical deliveries and defensive plans as well.
Exactly. He's standing sort of middling off. He's looking to come forward. He's happy if Ben Stokes bounces him, going to try and ride it. He's got a leg slip there, and he's trying to access the ball to hit the ball down. And if he closes the face and nicks it, well, so be it, I think.
Stokes bowls again, another full delivery, and this time he just squirts it square on the offside and will come through for a single, the only run of that over, and it takes New Zealand to 105 for 6. So 149, it's gone below the 150, all these little milestones.
Yeah, it is, and it's just ticking the box again. We talked about Conway's way of playing, Phillips's way of playing. How do you, because you have to score. You stand there and it's not trying to score recklessly. It's, from Conway's point of view, it is, can I get outside off stump, smother any sort of movement and try and get a bat on it, and I'll just knock it into extra cover or a thick outside edge into mid-wicket because there's loads of catches in place, and I'll keep rotating the strike unless they give me a half volley which I can hit down the ground. Phillips is the other way. I'm going to stand side on. I'm going to offer my stumps if it keeps low, but at least if they give me a little bit of width, I can throw my hands at the ball.
Another over from Atkinson begins. The first ball's just turned towards square leg where Emilio Gay prevents the single. They've got 2 slips and 2 gullies in, as we have seen a lot today. Ben Stokes is in there at point. I did also want to ask you about Robinson this morning. It was interesting. Jamie Smith was keeping up to the stumps. His speeds were probably in the low 120 kilometres per hour, which you'll have to translate to miles for me.
Yeah, it was about 77 miles an hour.
Would that be deliberately with Jamie Smith up to the stumps? I know people will be keeping an eye out as Atkinson around the wicket that squirted away, tried to guide it down towards third, and it's picked up by Jacob Bethel at Gully on the bounce.
Yeah, I mean, the Ollie Robinson one, there was obviously a lot of talk and a lot of conjecture whether he come back and he was lucky to come back. I think he was lucky to come back. A lot of talk about his speeds when he was in the last time it was like 72, 73 mile an hour. I'm not really bothered about his speeds. I just want to know his effectiveness in this team and within this unit. And he's effective in that unit. Even if Jamie Smith's standing up, he's effective in that unit, even if he's bowling at 76, 77 miles per hour.
Atkinson bowls. Oh, it's a play and a miss, a sort of half play by Conway, really. Might just sort of pulled his bat inside the line. I mean, Jamie Smith keeping up to the stumps has been so effective that you can almost imagine it's a tactic to, like, don't push your speeds up, let him get up there, because the ball has been nibbling about so much.
Yeah, I mean, from Robinson's point of view, I think he's got to forget that Jamie Smith's up to the stumps. He hasn't got to change anything. The only thing that goes against Robinson with Smith up the stumps is that thicker edge which deviates that little bit more, where standing back is a comfortable catch, standing up is virtually impossible. So he's got to outweigh that fact by getting the player to stay in his crease.
As Atkinson bowls, defended just to first gully in there, no run.
So if you keep the reason why he comes up to the stumps is to keep the batter in his crease, like Darryl Mitchell did. Darryl Mitchell on this surface did not want to bat anywhere near his crease line. He wanted to be a foot outside, knowing that Ollie Robinson, from a pace point of view, he had no worries whatsoever. He wanted him to bowl it short. If he bowled it short, happy days, that's how I'm going to score. I'm going to try and smother the movement, smother the bounce, and try and get forward as much as I can. The minute you get a keeper standing up, Ollie Robinson hasn't got to think of anything changing pace-wise, line-wise, length-wise. He's just basically got to, if anything, goes a little bit straighter and says, I'm trying to get you LBW, I'm trying to get the thin edge, I'm trying to get you bowled on a surface, which is doing a bit like this. I've been impressed by Ollie Robinson, not just his deliveries, his attitude. I thought what he said after the first day was spot on. He owned some of the mistakes he made. He felt as though he was lucky. And I think even if he does drop to 76, 75, 76 mile an hour, we've needed a bowler for a while to give England control, and that's what he does.
Atkinson bowls to Conway, who clips that to Emilio Gay at a shortish square leg, no run.
It's a lot different. Ollie Robinson bowling 76 miles an hour, 77, 78 miles an hour, with Broad and Anderson in the team. When when Anderson was in and Broad was just finishing, it's a lot different than bowling that to bowling with Atkinson, with Tongue, with a Carse, with a Stokes, with an Archer. Ben Stokes needs a control bowler, and he's got one in Ollie Robinson. If Ollie Robinson's bowling like that with Broad and Anderson, then I think you've got three bowlers very, very similar.
Atkinson in, and that's just dropped into the pitch by Conway and rolls about a metre to finish off a maiden over from Atkinson. New Zealand still 105 for 6. That target 254, so they need 149 to win.
So in the winter, you know, England were talked about from a batting point of view, and England were poor against Australia. I think the poorest discipline wasn't the batting, it was the bowling. I thought the bowling was shambolic. It was poor. It was really, and nobody could give you that little bit of control as a captain to think that the first 6 overs you own that part of the session. And I think that's what Robinson gives. But when he had Broad and Anderson and his pace was going down, he wasn't fit, everything that goes with it. This Ollie Robinson, if it stays like this, England have got a real threat for the next couple of years. If he stays as fit as what he is now and as focused as he is now and bowling he is now, with the likes of Archer, with Tongue, with Atkinson.
Here's Stokes bowling to Phillips, who just pushes that one into the offside. Jacob Bethel runs up from gully and they'll get the single. Takes them to 106 for 6.
And that's why we've been crying out. We talk a lot of talk about Sam Cook. There's a lot of talk about Matt Fisher. There's a lot of talk about other bowlers who are in that bracket of control bowlers, 80 mile an hour, very, very skillful. I mean, Sam Cook's done. Don't want to sort of disrespect Sam Cook. He's done brilliantly for Essex. He's not even close to Ollie Robinson. He's from a skill point of view and the length that he bowls and the release point and everything that goes. I mean, in international cricket, there's not really too much of a comparison. I think Robinson is so good when it comes to that. The only thing that Robinson has got a black mark against is can he sustain it for 6 test matches, 12, 15 test matches a year and still be at the relevant pace enough to...
Here is Stokes who bowls to Conway, flicks that past Emilio Gay at square leg. It's going to go all the way to the boundary. The chase is fruitless. So it's been a little bit quiet for a while, but Conway just managed to get it past the square leg fielder, and they're welcome runs because it felt like they were getting a bit stuck.
Yeah, well, welcome runs. It looked as though England were just building that pressure without the boundary. I think Ben's having a go at Shoaib Bashir, and rightly so here. He's not happy with Shoaib Bashir. I think Shoaib Bashir's gone wandering there. He wasn't in the right place. Shoaib Bashir dived to his left, and you've got your 2 fielders on the leg side in front of square who are pretty straight. You need your square leg to be either on square, just behind.
Next ball from Stokes is just defended back up the pitch. Yes, I did realise he's standing behind the umpire, and Emilio Gay's been fielding at square leg so much of this game, but he's moved up to mid-on. That was a 50 partnership, by the way, between Phillips and Conway, and you have to hand it to them. They've really done well to scrap their way to, and small partnerships have actually been really significant in this match.
100% agree, Mel. And I think what they've done is they've had a plan, though. They've had a game plan on this surface. They've not been worried about the one that goes along the ground. They've got a plan.
Here's Stokes to Conway. Again, he's doing exactly what Harmy was talking about, that plan, getting out in front and pushing his hands forward. Up to mid-on, no run.
And what Ben, the frustration for me there with Ben is, yes, if Emilio Gay and Shoaib Bashir have swapped positions, have changed position because Emilio's gone to a catching position, you've got to be on it. You've got to be mentally on it in the right place. Shoaib Bashir was 5 yards out of place there, and that's cost his team a boundary and a low scoring effect.
Round the wicket comes Stokes, short ball, and he has a swipe at that one, Conway. And there's a strangled yell. I don't think he got anything probably anywhere near it, as Jamie Smith had to leap to his right to stop that. So first real short ball in anger we've seen from Stokes, I think.
Yeah, I think was it a no ball? No, it wasn't given a no ball. I thought Adrian Holstock was signalling a no ball.
No, it just came up then on the screen.
Yeah, it was a no ball. That's right. Yeah, I was wondering if it was a no ball or was a wide for height, but it didn't look that high. So obviously it was a front foot no ball from Ben Stokes.
Stokes it is, runs in full sunshine, and next ball is full though, and it's Conway right on the front foot, pushing it back to the bowler.
And it's good again from Devon Conway. Just watching a replay again, his back foot is tip of his back foot, so his left foot, his big toe of his left foot's outside off stump. His big toe and his right foot is probably on off stump. A little bit different to Emilio Gay. Emilio Gay was right foot beyond his left foot, and that's why he got closed off a little bit, and that's why he potentially nicked it. Where Devon Conway is just widening his shoulders, opening his shoulders a little bit, and he's basically saying to anything that's full, I'm going to try and get out in front and try and smother it into the ground. And if one bounces, well, one bounces. I mean, so be it. And if it clips the outside edge or flicks a glove, that's my plan.
2 slips, leg slip as well, but that squirted to Gully and he's got him. Well, they shifted across leg slip, and Conway maybe was conscious of that. He tried to turn it to the leg side. He's got a leading edge, and it is the captain, Ben Stokes, who breaks up this partnership just after it had reached 50. Don't look away for too long, but a great innings by Conway, as we see. They're just actually checking it.
Yeah, just checking to see if it carried. Jacob Bethel was very confident. It looked as though it went straight in. It's exactly the way we've been talking about Devon Conway. He just turned the face that little bit too early. It's hit the leading edge, and if anything, it's hit the back of the bat. He's just trying to turn it from outside in, and we're seeing it again. Yeah, he's got his fingers underneath that. That's gone straight in. It's a very, very good low catch. Of big wicket for England, a wicket that England have had to work very, very hard for. But Jacob Bethel looks as though he's got his fingers underneath the ball. And the England captain has broke this partnership, a partnership of over 50 between Conway and Phillips. And one, it was much needed from an England point of view, because I don't think they were panicking England, but they were just starting to move the field, just starting to get a little bit tetchy with each other. Ben Stokes had a go at Shoaib Bashir for not being in the right place. They were just starting to go that little bit. Of another 10 overs of that partnership, and we might have had a game on, Mel.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm reluctant to really go either way still, because you saw a partnership like that, Bill. Phillips is still out there, and he's shown himself willing to still play his shots, but that is a huge blow after they built up that partnership. But England did what you said. They didn't panic. They just kept going at it, kept putting it on a spot, knowing that at any point the pitch could play a part in it as well. And on that occasion, I think it's as much of the gremlins get into your head as anything else for Conway.
Yeah, it was. I think it was good bit of bowling from Ben Stokes. Hit the same area he's been hitting quite a while, knowing that if you just be patient in and around that area, you bowl enough balls in a good area, the pitch will do something, or it will make a batter think about doing something different. And unfortunately, from Conway's point of view, the way he's playing, the game plan he had, the ball that he clipped through sort of square leg, just in front or just behind square leg at the start of that over, Devon Conway was possibly lining up to think, right, that's how I'm going to hit boundaries. And just as the delivery was about to, Ben Stokes was about to take off for that delivery, he turned at the top of his mark, changed his mind, and moved a second gully into the leg side, and basically said to Devon Conway, I'm going to try and bowl a bit straighter to you. And all Devon Conway's done there is, as it's gone on with the slope, obviously he knows it's straighter, he thinks he's going to try and hit it a little bit straighter, and that split second earlier turned the face of the bat to try and control the ball into the leg side. And whether it's deviated, whether it's hold, whether it's bounced, I'm not so sure, or whether he's just gone a bit too early, it's got the back of the bat outside edge, and it's barely carried a Jacob Bethel, but it was a good catch. So good bowling from Ben Stokes, good field position to put something in the batter's mind, and it was a wicket that England needed, because the partnership was bubbling along very, very nicely.
So it was unlucky for New Zealand. Nelson, that wicket falling on 111, so 111 for 7 as Nathan Smith makes his way out to the middle to join Glenn Phillips. Just 3 wickets remaining now as far as England are concerned to get themselves to victory. How do you feel the team does it when you're Glenn Phillips? You've got Nathan Smith coming out there now as well. Do you break it down into small totals as far as time goes, or runs go, or overs go, and just say, let's try and get to here in 5 overs? Or how do you do it?
I think so. I think on a normal surface, Mel, on a fourth day pitch, which is wearing, you would possibly. I think this is such a unique surface and a unique game and a unique set of circumstances. I don't think you can afford to say, right, well, we'll just stick in and battle hard for the next 10, 15, 20 runs. I think it's more about the plan you have coming out and being clear and categorically going, right, this is how I'm going to play it, and it will work or it won't. And I think that is more important now than building for the next 15 runs, the next 20 runs, and if we get to 20, let's get to 30, because there's a ball with your name on this surface. So I think at the end of the day, for me, whether it's Nathan Smith or Glenn Phillips, has to be positive. England will shut one side of the field off and basically stop Glenn Phillips' boundaries. Then I think if Phillips is still in with Jamieson plays the aggressive role. And then if Jamieson gets out, then Smith can have a little bit of fun with Matt Henry when he comes in. That's the plan.
Atkinson starts a new over. It's Phillips on strike, and he just plays this one out into the covers for a single to bring Smith on strike. He Made 15 off 18 in the first innings before he had his off stump removed by Josh Tongue.
I don't think Phillips will change too much here. I think he will trust and back Nathan Smith to have his own plan on the way things are going, where he sees it, the way he thinks his skill sets from a batting point of view can affect the game on this surface. And then the same with Jamieson, which Jamieson will be more of an aggressor. And then you might see Glenn Phillips go into T20 mode when Matt Henry comes in.
Atkinson in, bowls defended, back up past the bowler, no run. I was just chuckling there because they've moved around and played around with the slips, the leg slip, the gully, and Ben Stokes, just when that ball was being delivered, he'd moved into leg slip. But even as Atkinson was running in, he was holding his hands out, like shuffling one way or another, going, how fine do you want me? They haven't been able to settle into a position.
No, they haven't. And they've also, Ben's moved himself to backward point and brought Emilio Gay into mid-wicket.
Atkinson shuffles in once more, bowls, and that's all played with soft hands in the end, drops between the slips and gully and all the way for 4. So what a way for Nathan Smith to get off the mark. Nice and positive. He played that well.
Yeah, he played it well. The ball bounced. He's riding on the top of the bounce. He's got soft hands. Dropped it into the gap. Yeah, it was a good start from Nathan Smith. He's had a really good test match. He's had a really good couple of weeks. Got 8 wickets in the match at Ireland. He got 15. I know it was only 15, but 15 out of 114 in the first innings. Got a 6 for on the honours board, and now he's just got to try and find a way of staying there with Glenn Phillips.
116 for 7 as Atkinson is in, and this time though he gets him straight away. It's 4 and it's out, just the little feather. Jamie Smith does the rest, and the 8th wicket falls for New Zealand. England is circling.
Yeah, very good from Gus Atkinson. That one there didn't bounce as much as the one before from Nathan Smith's point of view. He didn't have soft hands. He's pushed it out in front. And an easy catch, regulation catch for Jamie Smith. 150, I think that's 150 first-class wickets now for Gus Atkinson. He does love bowling at Lords. He loves playing here, and that pavilion end. England 2 wickets away now from what would be a well-deserved win. England have been, I would say, from a bowling point of view, at it. From a batting point of view, they've done enough to, I think, win this test match from the way they batted and the runs on the board. They've catched everything that's come to them, and I just think that's the difference between England and New Zealand. We might just look back at the 2 or 3 drop catches that New Zealand dropped and the runs that they cost them to possibly be the difference and the significance in this match. But a great wicket for Gus Atkinson. 150 first-class wickets for him now, and England on the cusp of a 4-day win here at Lords on a pitch which there's going to be a lot talked about, but from a bowler's point of view, they can do nothing about that. They've put the ball in the right area and let the pitch do the work, and boy, have they put the ball in the right area.
If it hadn't been that rain around on day 1, it might have finished within
in 2
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Atkinson figures of 3 for 24 now. He's had a wonderful time of it. New Zealand 116 for 8. Kyle Jamieson is the new batter in to join Phillips, who is currently on 28. And the clouds have come in again. The sun has gone away. 2 balls remaining in Atkinson's 9th over. He's in now over the wheel. First ball, and well, Jamieson plays it one-handed off his hip down towards deep square leg, running in from the boundary. And gets himself up the other end, although I would say not in particularly convincing fashion. Does bring Phillips on to strike though.
Jamieson's going nowhere near this when it comes to from a body point of view. If I'm in Kyle Jamieson's shoes, I'm standing on leg stump and I'm going, right, anything in my half, I'm going to try and hit you onto the pavilion roof. It won't work. It'll go to third man if it was me, but that's what the plan would be.
Here's Atkinson, bowls, and it's just dropped into the offside. They'll scamper through for a single. Don't forget, Kyle Jamieson did get 38 off 29 in the first innings, so maybe he might have a go. At the end of the over, New Zealand 118 for 8, with Phillips on 29, Jamieson on 1. They still require 136 runs for victory. England need just 2 more wickets. Some more thoughts from you, Harmy, and then I'm going to hand it back to Manners.
Yeah, Kyle Jamieson is well, he's well capable of scoring runs. That's why that partnership between Phillips and Conway, if it just eked out another 30 or 40 more runs, 100 to get with Smith and Jamieson to come in, England might have had a little bit of a wobble. But no, it's been brilliant again from England this morning. They really have. They put the ball in the right area. Even when the partnership was developing, there was no panic. They knew where the bowlers are and partnerships that they've been bowling in. They're just waiting for that one chance to come. And like I've said many times, Manners, New Zealand have dropped 4 catches. England haven't dropped a catch, and they've caught some good low ones. They've caught some really, really good catches at crucial and key times. And I think that, for me, is the difference between these two sides in this cricket match.
Apart from Harry Brooks' drop of Devon Conway
Yeah,
on 24.
he did, yeah.
There. But it's going to be inconsequential. And Josh Tongue is in once again and has played away defensively up towards mid-on. But the drops that New Zealand put, I mean, you know, they dropped Harry Brook on 8 and he made 56. Right there is massive consequence.
That's the game. I think Emilio Gay maybe he's got 20 more runs when the ball went between first and second slip.
More,
there was
40 more.
40, yeah. And then I think there was another one as well, I think. So if you all add that up, you're looking at 70, 80 runs. It's a different game of cricket altogether.
Here is Tongue again, bowls, and it's driven firmly by Phillips, but only as far as extra cover. Shoaib Bashir does the fielding. Did you see Gary Morgan's stat before the start of play about the number of test matches with no overs of spin? This will be the third one in, I don't know, the last 25 years. Maybe Gary can send us that again. But you have to go back to 1981. It's one of those tests in the Ashes series. I don't know whether maybe John Embry was the unused spinner, if he was even selected. Steered away behind square, or in fact square of the wicket to deep backward point. Bashir comes in to do Amelia Gay comes in to do the fielding. They take another single.
You have bowled badly as a set of seamers. If you need your spinner to bowl on this, I'm sorry. You have. If you need your spinner to bowl on this, as a set of seamers, you have bowled badly. I think if I was,
or 2 of you were injured.
Yeah, I think if Michael Vaughan was captain of the team that I played in, the only thing that he would be worried about is not being filled in by the 2 bowlers who weren't bowling at the time, because the other 2 bowlers would be going, I'm not coming off here, I'm keep bowling.
Tongue in once more, and Jameson's looking to drive, doesn't time it. It comes off the toe end of the bat. He says, can I field it? And Jacob Bethel says, be my guest. So he does. He fields it with his bat, picks it up, tosses it back, and there's some shining going on from Joe Root.
In my heavy drinking days, when I was very good at saying one more, I think I'd have been saying that to my captain many, many times over the course of these last 2 days when I've been bowling and going, Michael, I'm not coming off, I'm having one more. I won't, just give me one more. I'm in the game here. Because I think a bowler on a surface like this would be so energised that you'd feel as though you could bowl all day. There's something happening literally with every single delivery.
2 slips in a gully for Kyle Jameson, and he plays defensively, pushes it up towards mid-off, fielded by Ben Stokes. I do like the fact that Stokes isn't preempting Kyle Jameson's approach, and so far Jameson is batting, I use inverted commas here, properly. In the first innings he thought there's going to be no benefit to me batting properly. I mean, he came he came to the crease at 82 for 8, and no, actually he came to the crease at 65 for 7, and he just teed off. Gave himself some room. Here is Tongue once again, and Jamieson clips it away off his pads down towards long leg, and they go through for a single. But Jamieson gave himself a little bit of room. Stokes could see what his approach was going to be, and then he spread the field almost immediately. And so Stokes is just waiting. He hasn't preempted it. He's waiting to see what Jamieson's approach will be. But I think, that the moment he backs away, the moment he gives himself some room, the moment he looks to play a couple of big shots, Stokes goes straight away to the slog field.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have them in the right place. I think that in the first innings it was literally just spread out, where I think here, hopefully somebody might have spoke to him, that was Tim Saudi or somebody might have spoke to him, Brendan McCullum. It's like, you can have a slog field, but you can still have your fundamental catches of where the ball's going in play, which would be 2 slips, gully. Don't mind the deep square, don't mind the fine leg. If he wants to take me on over deep third, I've got no problem. But you're making sure that your catches are still in play. I think this is a very, very good field, and I wouldn't want any more out on the boundary.
Gus Atkinson is in, and Jamieson drives square of the wicket on the offside for 4. That is a very fine covered drive from Kyle Jamieson. Don't forget, New Zealand are not yet halfway, and they're 8 wickets down. They need another 134 for victory. Actually, they need 130 now with those 4 runs. They're 124 for 8. They need 130 more. 254 is the target. Kyle Jamieson need to make, you would think, 60 or 70 if New Zealand had any chance of getting there. It's a bouncer from Gus Atkinson. He's bowling with good pace in this test match, and that's entirely justified. Jamieson just ducks underneath it, allows it to go through to Jamie Smith. So Stokes for Jamieson has a deep square, as Harmy says. He's got a long leg rather than a fine leg, and a deep square. So far, at the moment, they're the only 2 men on the boundary, but mid-on is deep, certainly conceding a single. There's also a short mid-wicket. Here is Atkinson again, bowls, and Jamieson, I think just at the last possible second, left that one alone. He got into position, and it was to drive, I think, through the offside. Or actually, I think he did play at it. And only having played and missed, he then feigned a leave alone. England on the cusp here of going 1-0 up in this series. It is always a slight shame when the pitch becomes the story rather than the performances that players are put in on the surface. Difficult though it has been. It's punched away square of the wicket on the offside. Jeremy, I think you were elsewhere when Jarrod Kimber was talking through about the way that the teams have adjusted to these extreme conditions, and England, I think, have adapted and have adjusted better than New Zealand. The way that they've managed to found a way to score.
Yeah, that's Cricinfo stuff, isn't it? And that's what they're saying, is that they've got, while they've faced the straighter deliveries.
Here is Atkinson again, bowls. Jamieson drives out towards short mid-wicket, and his hold out to Ben Duckett. It's exactly why he's there. It was full and straight, and Jamieson has clipped it powerfully to Ben Duckett, who takes the catch. And he's in a stationary catching position. He's a designated short mid-wicket, or sort of short mid-on, wideish mid-on, and Jamieson has gone for 6. It's 124 for 9. I suppose we can still talk about that point. I mean, England have. Well, the point is, people who say that the pitch makes it a lottery, I think, are misreading the situation. No.
Well, it is still for batting. It's still not easy for either side, for any batsman on either side, and I just think, as you say, there will be a lot of talk about the surface, and that won't be the end of it. There'll be even more talk when the next Test match at Lord's is being talked about, which will be Pakistan, and then there's a women's Test as well coming up. Against India, I think, isn't it? So until they find a way to get a pitch that is providing a little bit more or a little less help for the bowlers and a little bit more security for the batsman, let's call it that, and so that you can actually, bat a little more properly to get your runs, and not rely on bad bowling to put it away, because you're not going to get bad bowling in test matches, not a lot of it anyway. And New Zealand, when they look back on it, they'll look at that, surely. They'll look at the way they weren't able to score off straighter balls as much as England did.
Matt Henry's the new batsman, and forward he comes, playing defensively and declining the single off the last ball of the over. He's saying to Glenn Phillips, I'm staying this end. And I think that's exactly the right thing to do. Henry can, he
can hit, but he's decided he's not going to get moving at all, is he, by the look of it? He's hardly interested in moving his feet, and he's kind of playing a version of French cricket, but he's still keeping a batting kind of position. That ball was full enough and straight enough that you might play that, but it was just really too full to get underneath enough. And the line wasn't such that he could get it more leg side and squarer on the onside, and that's why he's picked out Duckett at mid-wicket. It was full enough that he couldn't get underneath it to loft it over that man, or he couldn't get it square enough to perhaps get a single or even a two or maybe a boundary. So just kind of the right sort of thing from Atkinson, really, who hasn't swung the ball a great deal, who hasn't really nipped it around as much perhaps as we've seen from some of the other bowlers, but he's still picked up wickets here. He's found a way to do that, and he's got how many wickets here?
25 in 3 matches.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about this one particular match. How many he's got? 3 or 4?
4 for 30 currently.
Right, that's pretty good. They're good figures, aren't they?
And 2 for 9 in the New Zealand's first innings. So another 6 to his tally. 25 wickets at 9.8 at Lord's in 3 tests. Here's Josh Tongue bowling to Glenn Phillips, and it's a spread field, so they're giving him a single wherever he wants it, other than to the keeper. Everybody conceding 1. Actually, there's a few changes going on now, but we've got 4 men on the leg side boundary. Fine leg, deep backward square, deep square leg, deep mid wicket.
Backward point's just gone back to third man, hasn't he? So they're pushing a man back.
Got a fly slip as well.
Yeah.
Fine third. Actually, pretty much everyone's heading toward well over 2/3 of the way back to the boundary at mid-on and mid-off. Here is Tongue again, bowls, and Phillips struck on the pad. Bounces out towards deep backward square leg.
Got to find a gap, doesn't he? Where are the gaps? Perhaps extra cover. Something off either that's a little bit wide and a little bit short. He might be able to punch a ball through that area to get 2. Hits it well, he might get a boundary. Not too many other obvious places, unless he gets it's wide ball and he manages to pierce a gap just behind point, might get to a boundary.
Here's Tongue again, up to the crease now, bowls, and Phillips lashes this behind square on the offside for 4. There aren't very many gaps. Gee, we had not seen a ball hit harder than that in this test match. Carl Jameson hit 3 sixes. They might have matched it, but we haven't seen any hit along the ground harder than that.
No, that's that. I was just describing that one just behind point. There is an area there. You've got a cover point on the boundary who's looking to kind of get to that, but that's the power with which was supplied by Phillips, and just wide enough to get it there. Not many of those.
Phillips moves on to 34. New Zealand 128 for 9. Here is Tongue once again, bowls, and Phillips plays a similar shot and lashes it down towards fine third, and they decline the single. It was, as I said, there's a single wherever he wants it, if he wants it.
Right, well, that's 4 down in the over. That's why there was a little bit of a hint of, I don't think we will. There was an easier, long single there. Henry's gone 3/4 of the way down, and then 3/4 of the way he's got 1.5 in longitudinal terms, but no addition to the score. So 128 for 9 still. And I know I heard you or overheard you and Harmy talking about the value of those catches dropped by New Zealand. And you add up the runs, and it will be near 80. And so you're setting out at the start of that innings, if they had taken those catches, as all the field comes in now with 2 balls to go in the over.
Would have been a much closer test match.
Oh yes, 170 as a target.
Here is Josh Tongue again, bowls. Short hook shot from Phillips, and he's got underneath it beautifully, and it's gone a long, long way down towards long leg. Umpire Adrian Holstock is waiting for confirmation that that ball has cleared the ropes before he makes the signal. It's gone very, very quickly and very high, and I actually lost it in the crowd. But did it go for 6? 4 is for the signal. Anyway, it's been retrieved from in the crowd. I don't know whether it bounced first or not. Here we go. We're having another look. 6, isn't it?
Yeah, so 134. We'll soon have that confirmed once we look at the total. 128 prior to that stroke. Yes, it is a 6. So 1 ball left here, and this is where the single counts, obviously. And can they get it? You might even find a fielder, in fact, just not even chasing, and hope it goes through to the boundary.
2 slips gully, backward point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, backward square leg. Very orthodox looking run-saving field. Short and wide outside the off stump. Cleverly bowled. Couldn't reach it, Phillips. He wanted to, he tried. But the idea is to keep, if you're not going to take a wicket, is to keep Phillips off strike for the next over, which is exactly what Josh Tongue did there. He's bowled well. He's bowled quickly too. 2 for 44. Gus Atkinson, well, he's already all over the honours boards, both of them. And he's got another chance now. He's 4 for 30.
Yeah, I did him a disservice before saying that there wasn't a lot happening, but it didn't really matter. The pitch supplied a little bit for him as well. He's managed to get in and around that off stump. He's very good and accurate, and he does challenge the top of the stumps. So he's got that length, in other words, that is just right. And on this surface, then, you know, he's going to get a little bit of variation as well from that ideal length.
Right, for Matt Henry, 2 slips gully, leg slip and leg gully. Here is Atkinson, bowls. Henry backs away, gives himself a little bit of room, but then plays defensively as he punches it up to Josh Tongue at mid-off. The crowd of, the majority of day 4 tickets were sold, so people were going to come up however much cricket there was. New Zealand resumed, of course, on 55 for 5. Were always long shots if they had any shot at all of making 254. Good crowd in, and they're all staying to watch the end of the game, witness the end of the game. Atkinson is in again. Henry defends, pushes it straight back to the bowler. It's a very large squad that New Zealand has, 16. So unusually, sort of got an extra player or two. I wonder. It's 8 days, isn't it, before? Well, 9 actually, if you include tomorrow.
Well, Ben Sears is with the team. He's not part of the squad. They're carrying him round. He's had injuries, and they're really keen on him. They like his pace. He's a good pace bowler. New Zealand, with the 3 quick men, have now got, you know, they've got variety. He swings it away, and quite awkward.
Atkinson in again, bowls to Matt Henry, who pushes it out towards square leg.
You know, between him and O'Rourke, who's a little bit shorter, this pitch is just a little bit not quite right for someone like O'Rourke, even though he's looked menacing at times. You need to be pitching up just a little bit more, and that's not kind of the length he really operates from. He did say to me, I had a chat to him today as he was backstop, you know, as they were practicing their bowling. And he said, yeah, I didn't bring the stumps into enough, Jeremy. I was a bit annoyed with myself there. So, but he might enjoy the oval a bit more, so the nets aren't much fun. You know, when you've got Shears and you've got Jamieson and you've got O'Rourke coming in at you.
3 slips at a gully and 2 slips on the leg side as well as Atkinson is in bowls. Henry is struck on the pad and it is collected at leg slip as Ben Stokes dives away to his left. It was off the pad though. They'll have to play. I don't know whether Glenn Phillips and Rachin Ravindra will be sufficient spin at the Oval. It's been very flat this summer.
Maybe that's why they brought Santner over. He was always in the squad. And he's just come over a little earlier than expected because I think the shoulder has healed more quickly and efficiently than perhaps people originally thought.
Here is Atkinson looking for a 5th wicket. Another place on the honours board as he's in, and that's defended nicely by Matt Henry. Up towards mid-on, straight to the fielder, and there's no run.
Yeah, he's really just propping forward, holding his position. There's a little gap between that pad and the bat, the inside edge of the bat, that maybe Atkinson will be interested in. 2 balls to go this over, and really he just wants to encamp, I think, down at this end and stay there as long as he can, and let Phillips do the bulk of this. Well, all the scoring really.
Mid-off has come into a second gully, actually we've got 4 slips and a gully now. Here is Atkinson bowls. Henry stuck on the pad once again. Atkinson bowls a little bit too straight, and it's deflected away to leg gully and fielded by Emilio Gay. There were 7 close catches behind the batsman for that last delivery. 39 overs gone. The target is now 120 with just 1 wicket remaining. 134 for 9. World Test Championship. England theoretically have got a chance of qualifying for the final. They'll have to win everything. They'll have to beat New Zealand 3-0, Pakistan 3-0, then go to Bangladesh and win there, and then win in South Africa. That's their path. What's New Zealand's remainder of their World
Well,
Test
they've only
Championship?
had the one series,
Right.
haven't they? The West Indies, which they won 2-0 out of 3. The third one being a draw. The first Test match, Christchurch, was a draw. So yes, well, they've got a few left. Put it that way.
A lot of Test cricket coming up then.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. How are they going to win a Test match from here?
Here is Josh Tongue bowling to Glenn Phillips, who's 40 not out. He's playing a defiant counter-attacking innings.
Yeah, we're seeing 2 games, aren't we? In 2 overs, we're seeing all-out attack from one end, from Atkinson when he's bowling to Henry, and now all-out defence in a way when you're bowling to Phillips. Phillips is powerful enough if he does get hold of it and it doesn't nip around and get an inside middle, if you know what I mean, hitting towards the edge of the bat. He's got the power. He'll clear these boundaries.
Does he still do 100 push-ups and 100 pull-ups?
I don't know, but he's more interested in. He loves flying. He's getting a license.
Driven out towards mid-off. They'll just take. No, they've changed their mind. They were going to. They set off for the run because on the basis that they can come back for 2, and then Phillips got halfway and said, "Actually, no, it's Stokes."
Yeah, he got too close. He didn't really time it either, did he? It was very clunky.
It's Atkinson, actually, isn't it? He thought that I think he found more of a gap at extra cover between deep cover and deepish mid-off, but actually may have hit it slightly better than he thought, and certainly straighter than he initially thought. I can tell you that there are 3 men on the leg side boundary and 4 men on or very close to the offside boundary, and a couple maybe halfway or 2/3 of the way back. Here is Tongue again, bowls, and big swing from Glenn Phillips, looking to clip it over mid-wicket, and he's missed it, I think, and hit him on the pads. Could have been straying down leg side.
Yeah, those 3 on the boundary. At the moment, it's a 4-5 field. 4 on the offside, 3 of those on the boundary, a 4th is almost long off, but perhaps 3/4 of the distance. And then on the leg side, 5 fielders, 3 men are one of them just in front of square and the other 2 behind square for a sort of a pickup shot. And then the others, Stokes is just drifting back to that sort of 3/4 position at mid-on, and then a man at sort of straight mid-wicket.
Here is Tongue again, bowls. Phillips swings and misses outside the off stump. It was full, it was certainly there for the drive. Maybe just a little bit too wide. There's no addition to the score, 134 for 9. When you lose a test match like this, there's no sort of, I mean, there's I'm guessing, amongst the vanquished, there's a sense that, well, what we did our best. I mean, but the pitch is extreme, and we couldn't play the cricket we wanted to.
Yeah, I think you learn from it, though, don't you? If we get in this situation on this type of pitch, even though they may not be very, frequent, you learn that attack becomes, I think, more important. And that sensible attack that's what you really want to have, something that's where the risk level isn't quite so high as slogging, which we saw really from Harmison in the first innings.
38 not out with 3 sixes. Here is Tongue again, bowls to Phillips. It's orthodox field now, and he opens the face of the bat and runs it between slip and gully down towards the third man boundary, and he'll pick up 4. It'll be a fighting half century if he gets there. He's on 44 now. Some defiant resistance, making England work for every wicket. No freebies, no gifts, and that has to be admired. Clever batting, actually.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, if Phillips gets runs here with regards to the makeup of the New Zealand 11 for the second test match.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I mean, being the more of a batsman at number 7 does make you tend to think that he's the
you're more vulnerable
one.
Yeah, you're more vulnerable. I don't normally number 7 is an all-rounder. You're thinking he's more of a bowling all-rounder. I don't think of Phillips in that way. I think he's very much of the batting kind of number 7.
Here is Josh Tongue. Last ball of the over, up to the crease now. Bowls a bouncer. Phillips tries to hook it, and there's an appeal for a catch behind. They maybe thought that there was a little top edge there, or maybe a touch on the glove. But Jamie Smith has, I think, given the game away that it was a speculative appeal, because he's tossed the ball back to his captain and is marching down the other end. So certainly not in anticipation of a decision going their way. Phillips 44, Henry yet to score, 138 for 9.
Well, he's getting certainly the odd bad ball from the first 4 deliveries from the Tongue overs. He gets a chance if he really nails it, and it can go to the boundary, or he can get a 2. They mucked one of those up in that over and had to change their minds halfway in their first run. But then he gets 2 goes towards the end of the over, balls 5 and 6, and he's put one of those away, and he's now got himself within the compass of 50.
Yeah, I think it would be a worthy consolation if he does manage to get there. As Atkinson is in again, bowls to Matt Henry. He's just standing very still at the crease, not moving his feet at all, and pushing that one up towards mid-on. Anybody that wondering about whether New Zealand can reach lunch, the consolation of lunch, at least still be alive for the Lord's lunch, may be interested to know that it's not 1 o'clock, it's 1:15, and then it will be extended. Because they're 9 wickets down, so they actually have over an hour to go if they want to get to lunch. Here's Atkinson again, bowls Henry. Full and straight. He's not moving his feet at all, not even away to the leg side. He's just pushing that one to extra cover.
No, it's a form of French cricket going on at the moment, and it's a clunky French cricket too, really. He's not hitting it, with the meat of the bat at all. It's quite a tinny sound that's coming through my ears anyway. That may be my age.
No, it's sounding the same to me, but I'm not that much younger than you. 138 for 9 into the 41st over. Well, the MCC will be pleased that we've had more than 15 overs today. Here is bowled him! Gus Atkinson has 5. England have won the Test match by 115 runs. New Zealand bowled out for 138, and Gus Atkinson has 5 for 30. His 4th 5-wicket haul in 3 matches at Lord's. England go 1-0 up, and they've had the better of New Zealand in trying and testing conditions. The tourists have had no answer to England's seam attack nor the pitch. It's been very, very difficult for the batsmen. Just a couple of half centuries, and those players who did manage to get to 30 or 40 have made as significant a contribution as the bowlers have, and there are 3 of them on the Lord's Honours board. 4 actually: Ollie Robinson, Gus Atkinson, Carl Jameson and Nathan Smith. 4 bowlers on the honours board. The batsmen, nobody comes close to getting onto the honours board, but half centuries in the first innings from Harry Brook and in the second from Emilio Gay have made as much of a contribution, as I say. But England have won by 115 runs before lunch on the 4th day. If you take out all the rain breaks and all the stoppages, you will find that this game would barely have crept into the 3rd morning if you add all the overs up that were bowled, and that is not good enough for Test cricket. The MCC will be very disappointed by the condition of the pitch. They have got lucky. Financially, they have got lucky. Actually, they'll have to pay a refund on the 3rd day because we had just over 10 overs. But the fact that it has made it to lunchtime on day 4 and they're not having to refund money on day 4 will come as a great source of financial relief to them. But good for Gus Atkinson. How about that record now? 26 wickets in 3 Test matches at Lord's, including 4 5-wicket hauls and 1 10-wicket haul. 11.3 overs, 3 maidens, 5 for 40. Ollie Robinson, 13 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 38. Josh Tongue, 13 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 48. And Ben Stokes, 1 for 12 from the 3 overs that he bowled. I beg your pardon, Atkinson 5 for 30, not 5 for 40. Well, the players are now making their way into the long room. The New Zealand players making their way into the long room as well, in an opposite direction as they shake hands with the opposition. It's one of the great traditions that I love to see in cricket. So, congratulations and greetings and salutations exchanged in the long room. Jeremy Coney. New Zealand go 1-0 down. They regroup. They don't play warm-up games anymore, do they? They don't play county games. What are they going to do for a week?
I have no idea. I hope they go into the nets occasionally. I hope they have a bit of a break and a good think about things. I hope they study what's gone on at the next match that they have to play, which is, getting a bit of a history about the Oval and how it's gone this year and who's taken the wickets, and consider their options as a team. Who could we possibly use to utilise these conditions in the best way possible? But first of all, this game, well, you'd have to say it was a deserved victory, I think, by England. Why? Because they adapted more quickly to the conditions. Conditions are always the deciding, things that determine how a game goes. Who bowls, what length, whereabouts, what sorts of fields, where do you score runs, all those kinds of things, because of the condition of the pitch and what it's providing for you and for which bowlers. So, and then the batting, where you score your runs. So they scored more quickly from the deliveries that were hitting the stumps. They were able to then benefit from 4 dropped catches by New Zealand, and they got a lot more runs because of that. They had the services of their long-fingered English seamer Robinson more than New Zealand did from their equivalent, which was Matt Henry. Only 4 overs in the first day he was able to bowl, and in the second day when he came back it was a little more floaty and he was a wee bit more uncertain, and he went for runs because of that. Not his fault really. And then really I just thought the bowlers from England bowled more at the stumps. They had Tongue, they had Robinson, and in this second innings they had Atkinson. So they've done the job. No spinner has bowled a ball in this test match. And then the reason for that obviously is the movement up and down, variable bounce, and then quite a lot of seam movement as well. So hard batting conditions. No one really, was able to get and conquer it from either side. So catches and bowling at the stumps and getting runs off those deliveries bowled at the stumps, England win them all.
Welcome to Following On after the 4th day of the first test match between England and New Zealand. New Zealand have been beaten by 115 runs. Resuming on 55 for 5, they were bowled out for 138 with Gus Atkinson taking 5 for 30, 2 wickets apiece for Ollie Robinson and Josh Tongue, an unbeaten 44 from Glenn Phillips, but it was in vain, and England have capitalised on extreme conditions, a very, very difficult pitch indeed. If you take out the rain breaks and add the overs up, this game would barely have crept into a third morning. Low scoring, hard fought, compelling, entertaining, but also unsuitable perhaps for Test cricket at the home of cricket. Alongside me, Steve Harmison and Jeremy Coney, to look back at the Test match and the final day as it transpired. There was some fight from New Zealand, Steve Harmison, all the way through, but to describe the contest as a lottery because of the extreme nature of the pitch, I think would be unfair and not do England justice, because they've adapted better to extreme conditions and have outplayed New Zealand.
I think that's spot on. I think you would be unjust to say it was a lottery. I think both teams put the ball in the right areas. I think both bowling units can be proud of their efforts this week. I think small margins of a few drop catches, somebody chancing their arm and their game plan when it comes to batting from Harry Brooks' point of view, Emilio Gay's point of view. But I think from both bowling units, there wasn't a great deal of difference between the two. I thought England marginally bowled better lengths on a surface, which was very, very helpful. We'll talk about undoubtedly how poor the pitch was, and unfortunately that will be the headline. But England 5 months from playing a test match, a lot of question marks. England in that first innings, when they were 50 for 5 after what happened with the Ashes, they could easily have gone into their shell, capitulated, and it could have been a whole different story. But it shows you the characteristics not only of this side, Ben Stokes' leadership, and the other qualities they've got inside the dressing room, and their ability to bounce back and play the next situation very, very well, I think is what England's qualities under this current regime. So I think all in all, I think England deserved to win. I think they were better with the ball marginally, definitely better with the bat, hugely better in the field, and small margins of umpire's call and a couple of drop catches, I think will rue the fact that New Zealand didn't get a little bit closer in what was a very, very low scoring affair.
Jeremy Coney, 4 men got themselves on to the Lord's Honours board on the bowling side. Carl Jameson and Nathan Smith, and as well as Ollie Robinson and Gus Atkinson. Nobody got onto close to even the batting honours board, but because there's no place for half centuries on the honours board. However, Harry Brooks 56 and Emilio Gay's 57, as well as 33 from Ben Duckett, Jamie Smith's 39. That was really important.
Ollie Robinson's 29.
Yeah,
I thought was a big 29 in the third innings of this cricket match.
A 10th innings partnership, 10th wicket partnership of 22 between Shoaib Bashir and in the first innings. Those little things count when it's a low-scoring match. We've only spoken about England players, right? Those are the things that make the difference.
As far as New Zealand are concerned, you did point out on a number of occasions in both innings that they were finding it very difficult to come up with a method to score runs, because you're not, Kyle Jameson had a swing. I mean, he's come to the crease at 60 odd for 7, so there was nothing to lose almost, and it came off. It was a bit extreme. I mean, he hit 3 sixes. You wouldn't advocate that, but you did advocate trying to be a bit more proactive and not just being bowled at.
I think you have to, don't you? If you're getting on the surface where they're taking a wicket, or the bowlers are taking a wicket every 25 or 4 overs, every 4 overs there's a wicket falling, and of the 20 wickets from New Zealand, 14 of them were either they were hitting the stumps, they were the LBW or bowled. You need to be able to try and change the lengths of bowlers, and it's the lengths really. As soon as it's a little bit shorter, you get more time. You earn yourself time as a batsman to play a shot, and New Zealand didn't do that enough, I didn't think. I think they were a little bit still wanting to defend and play a normal test match innings, and that didn't work really. You needed to be able to force the bowler to bowl a bit. And what was Robinson's, what did he do when Jamieson started to hit out? He dragged the ball down, which was entirely the wrong thing to do, and in the surface that we were playing out there, they went to a leg side field. You don't want to do that when you're hitting the stumps that many times. You want to bring the stumps into play. Those short balls aren't going to hit the stumps, aren't they? All you can get is either hit for 6 or out with a caught. Well, New Zealand didn't have too many caught. They only had 3 when they started this morning. So I just feel that was the wrong way to go, frankly.
There have been shorter test matches, but not that involved 40 wickets falling. In fact, this is the 3rd shortest test match, for those of you who enjoy a quirky statistic, that have included 40 wickets falling. The first 2 were in 1888 and 1907. So it's been a while since we've had... So 996 balls for 40 wickets. As you said, Jeremy, it's just a fraction over 1 every 4 overs.
165 overs the whole match. So about 40 overs for every innings. Not even a 50-over game.
If New Zealand hold their catches, it might have been the shortest.
I think it
probably would have been the shortest. Yeah, if Ravindra catches Brook,
on 8,
which was the easier one, this game might have been a whole different contest.
Yeah, Duckett, he was dropped. He got 31. That was a very simple catch for Ravindra. Actually, Mum could always have done better.
He was dropped on 11. He made 33. Emilio Gay was given a life on 20 when he edged between slip and keeper. He made 57. In New Zealand didn't review an LBW on 24 against Emilio Gay as well, so a sort of a life and a half for him. Frankly, anybody in the New Zealand camp who says, well, it was a bit of a lottery. No, New Zealand had their chances.
100% had their chances. And I mean, it's difficult because if you're been in this camp many times before, man, as you're sitting there in the bowling camp and go, I've done my job properly. I think Jamieson, so much Henry, because as Jeremy says, Henry's had a little bit of a tough time when it comes to the body, but if you're Jamieson, Smith or Rourke, you're going, I'm not sure I could have done much more in this game. Sometimes when you lose, you have to look at the man in the mirror. There's always a big one to look at the man in the mirror because he's the one that tells you the most truth. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, and you look at that man in the mirror, and he will tell you the truth there and then. You might want to, you might be able to bluff it and have a bit of bravado in the dressing room or in and around company. But really, the person, honestly, he tells you the truth. And I'm not sure Jamieson, Smith or Rourke can look at themselves and say anything different other than, I've given everything I possibly could, and I couldn't have done much more. I'm not sure some of the batters could could look at that. I think England's bowlers could say the same. I think England's fielders could say the same. I just look at this team from England who were there on the ropes. If we're looking at Australia and thinking Australia were to be had in the winter from England's point of view, I think that this New Zealand team might look at it the same way, that they've come to Lords thinking, right, New Zealand team are there to be had. Question marks on McCullum, question marks on the regime, new selector, Ollie Robinson, gone back to Ollie Robinson, Ben Stokes. Let's put these under pressure because they're to be had. And when you drop a catch and you drop Harry Brook and he costs you 50 runs in a low-scoring affair, and the chances you just missed, I think New Zealand fans will be saying something similar to what England fans were saying when we came away from Perth less than 6 months ago.
Always reluctant to talk about a pitch, you know, when there's so many performances that have been put in by batters and bowlers. But let's just talk about it briefly, Jeremy. I mean, there is an old saying that it's better to have a bad plan than no plan, and the Lords ground staff have tried to revitalise the surface, because there have been some really low, slow pitches that have made for dull games of cricket that have actually gone to the fifth day. So from an administrative point of view, that's great. But they've tried to have a new process where they steamed the pitch to encourage grass growth and whatever, and it's backfired. It's blown up in their faces. But they haven't done it on purpose, and the level of sort of vitriol that is aimed at these people who are trying to do their best, I think, is unfair.
Yeah, I agree with all that. They're certainly not trying to produce a bad pitch. That's not their purpose in life. So that's fine. The only thing perhaps I would say about it is, if you're going to use a new method, then test it out first somewhere else. You know, maybe for a championship pitch or something like that. It's like with the pink ball, and they're talking about using a pink ball instead of the red ball to try and get it started again. Let's test it out first. Let's see what happens. You know, it's the same thing, isn't it? And so I just look, the result, whatever they did, the result is unfortunate. It's produced just a lopsided game. We talk often about the equation between a bat and a ball, the bowlers and the batsmen, and it was just weighted too heavily on one side, just the same as you've described the pitch, really, that you couldn't get wickets, and you can't take those, and you get those horrible games, 500, and we play that with 600, and we're not even going to have a go in the third innings. So no one wants to see that either, where it's weighted too heavily on the batting side. So it's just unfortunate.
Ceremony here at Lords for the opening Rothsay Test match of the summer between England and New Zealand.
Okay, well, that timing is excellent. Let's listen into the post-match presentation.
Round. Congratulations to England, who win by 115 runs and go 1-up in the three-match series. To conduct our interviews from Sky Sports will be Michael Atherton. Our first presentation is the Rothsay Player of the Match. This was nominated by the Sky Sports commentary team, and the winner receives a Rothsay medal and a magnum of Chapel Down English sparkling wine. In a game dominated by the ball, big mentions for Harry Brook with 56, and on debut, Emilio Gay in a match that he will remember forever and more. With the ball, fifers in every innings, unusual in a test match.
I am tempted, Jeremy and Harmy, to ask you before we find out who is the player of the match, who you would give it to, because
I think I would go Ollie Robinson. I would give it to Ollie Robinson. Yeah, I would give it to Ollie Robinson.
And Jeremy, who was your player of the match?
Well, given it's a test match where runs are so difficult and 4 men get 5 or 6 wickets, you're kind of tempted to give it to a batsman, aren't you?
Well, I think so too.
In which case it either goes to Gay. It either goes to Gay or it goes to Brook.
Yeah, Gay or Brook. I would give it to Robinson. I think that first over. It
is Ollie Robinson.
Yeah, I would have. I think everybody knows where I stood before the test match on it. I thought he bowled very, very well throughout the test match. I thought he spoke very well at the end of the first day. owned some of the mistakes that he's made. Thankful for his return, and he stepped up. And them 3 wickets in that 1 over at the start of the New Zealand innings, I think for me was the difference. I think if they get through that first spell and only 2 or 3, no wickets down, they get beyond 150. Yeah, 150, 180 and more. And I think that for me that's why I would give it to Ollie Robinson.
With worthy honorary mentions to anybody that got to 30 and above, and Brooks 50 and
Gay.
And Emilio Gay's 57 on day.
Yeah. Look, I can understand them giving it to Robinson, coming back the way that it happened and so on. I get that. I didn't understand the bowling short as soon as he was hit. And I don't know how many wickets he got in the second innings. He must have got
2.
2.
2 for 38.
Okay. Yeah. And didn't bowl much this morning, which was quite a curious kind of thing, really.
Yeah, but I think England have got. I think this is now. I think it's about how England use Ollie Robinson. I think they've got to front load him in the sessions, i.e., when the ball's new, in the first 30 overs, 15 from one end. He's got to bowl. For me, he's got to bowl at least 11, potentially 12 in that. The first spell as long as he can, a little short spell off, and then again. You've got to utilise Ollie Robinson's skill set while he is in the game, because I think we've seen once the ball went to like 25 to 35 overs, then there was nothing there. There's nothing there, and that's what you not got him in the team for. Gives you control, and I think start of a new session or with the new ball, I think you try and front load Ollie Robinson as much as you can. So it's about how you utilise him now to get the best out of him, as opposed to, like you say, bowling short to Kyle Jamieson. You've got Josh Tongue for that. You've got Ben Stokes for that. That's their role. For me, if you can bowl like that and stay fit throughout the whole summer, he's a huge asset for this England cricket team.
And he also, perhaps why he's standing there, is partially where he got those runs too, didn't he? He's a handy man to have down there.
He's got a good cricket brain. He thinks about the game. That's why Sussex made him captain. He let England down in the past.
Let's just see if we can hear Tom Latham. Not picking that up particularly clearly, but Latham is, and I don't mean this in a wishy-washy way. He's a diplomat. He says the right thing, and he's not going to stand up there and lambaste the pitch. He's immediately paid credit to England, and he's not going to be doing any complaining. Certainly not in public.
No, but his coach should. That should be the job of the coach. The coach should be coming out, and if I could Ben Stokes might be, because he's spiky and he can go off sometimes. Ben Stokes might say something about the pitch, but if I was on the other side, the coach should come out. So New Zealand's coach should come out strong, whether it's in the written media or to the TV, the radio, or whatever. They've got to condemn this pitch. This is the most iconic cricket ground in the world, one of the most, if not the most. And year upon year, we seem to be getting a poor pitch. Now we have to do something about it. And I think the only way we can do something about it is talk about it in the right way, which is it's been substandard. This has to get marked down. And I feel sorry for the ground staff. I feel sorry for the MCC, because they put on a brilliant spectacle. When you come to Lord's, everything about Lord's is amazing. You go to Disneyland, you never get disappointed. You come to Lord's, you should never ever get disappointed. But unfortunately, you have to call it as it is, and something needs to happen. The pitch was poor last year. The pitch has been really poor this year, and the pitch was poor last year for Test match cricket. The pitch was poor this year, and it was I thought it was quite a danger to the players, and that for me is the final straw. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, you can't disagree with any of that, and it's such a marvellous place, and so players, if you come here, they really look forward and anticipate a fantastic. I'm going to perform as I'm going to put my best on show here. It matters to them. It's something you remember, and it's unfortunate that they weren't able to do that on this surface. Now that may be partly because of the other bowlers, and you can live with that. But what you can't live with is the sort of assistance those other bowlers got in this particular instance. And look, if this is just a one-off, you can, okay, just a shocker. But what is going to happen next year? What's going to happen for the next 2 tests? What's going to happen next year and the year after? Because it's going to take, to fix this, 4 or 5 years.
If this was a first-class match and Middlesex played on that surface, Middlesex would lose all their points from this match. They would. You know, the way the first-class cricket has come out and done with pitch ratings now, if you have if your pitch is marked down, you lose all your points from this match.
Well, England don't want to lose their World Test Championship points because they really need them.
Can't afford to. Yeah, they've not got many to start with. They weren't starting from a high bar on that front. But let's be fair. I mean, we're trying to be as kind as we possibly can to this great historic venue. But if Middlesex played here on that surface against a Durham, a Derbyshire, and Northampton in the second division, and won the game and got 24 points, I reckon within a week to 10 days, the end points would have been taken off them.
Finally, looking ahead, there's an old saying that you never change a winning team. So I assume that England will have the same 11 for the second Test match at the Oval. Jeremy, there's the question mark over Matt Henry's fitness, obviously, although he did manage to pull through. So there's that. But is Mitch Santner the only sort of possible change that you can see?
Well, if Henry is fit and plays, okay.
If not,
I don't think they'll
Tickner,
be. Well, then it's Tickner, isn't it? There's only got one more. They can't bring Ben Sears into it until someone else goes down, and so that would be the change there that would be made. And Santner is a possibility. They look at the surface, they may need a spinner who can control things a little bit more because they might be a little bit more uncertain about the 4-seamers that they've got. And so they might need a spinner to get them through. And it's who they choose. I don't think they can choose Ravindra because he's a number 4 batsman. Hasn't played very well here. In fact, he's had a bad match, hasn't he? You'd have to say that, not just with the bat. And so, I think then you're starting to look at Phillips. And I'm not sure after that innings we've just seen there that you would want to do that, would you? So they've got a few little issues, I think. I don't think it's clear cut, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been, I tell you what, though, as disappointing as the pitch is, it's been compelling. It's been entertaining.
It always is. When the ball dominates the bat, it's always entertaining. Not for anybody that bats in the top 6, but it's always entertaining.
So England have won by 115 runs with the scores. England 140. We thought they were in trouble when they were bowled out for 140. But New Zealand were dismissed for 113 with Ollie Robinson taking 5 for 39. England then made 226, which is worth about 400 on most standard pitches. 57 from Emilio Gay on debut. Remember that innings for a long time. Jamie Smith made 39 and Ollie Robinson 29. And New Zealand resuming on 55 for 5 on the 4th morning were bowled out for 138 with Gus Atkinson taking 5 for 30 and match figures of 7 for 39. That's not bad. We do look forward to your company throughout the build-up to the second Test match at the Oval. But for now, from all of us at Lord's, we'll say goodbye.